Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
It's Football Friday.
Broncos country. Let's ride.
They're a really good football team.
This is a game the Bills should win, and they're very good in Orchard Park. They play their best football in Orchard Park this year. But there's an element to this team that you just don't know how they're going to show up each week.
Mike Danger.
How do you think it's going to go? Okay, go through the same exercise. Who has the better quarterback?
Buffalo.
The better defense?
Well, Buffalo.
Better receivers?
Buffalo.
The Bills should win.
We should win this.
On Monday.
Gene Battaglia.
This is one where we'll be maybe tricked into thinking the Bills are back here. I'm thinking this is going to be a comfortable win Monday night finally, but it's not going to be much. It's Denver. Whatever.
Bears held up the Panthers 16-13.
Touchdown! Touchdown Bears!
Why are you so pissy?
It's the biggest story in college football. That's why I keep bringing it up. Michigan, man.
College basketball, the NBA season.
Bang! The Amerks host Utica.
Go Sabres.
What are they up against tonight in Minnesota?
The Minnesota Wild.
Go Tigers! 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome on into the Sports Bar. Get set for 3 hours of fantastic sports talk in the Flower City. We're glad you're listening along at 95.7 FM. AM 950 and the Fan Rochester, where we sound our best. The free to download Odyssey app. You can watch the Sports Bar. Our video stream is rolling for you right now. Don't forget to like and subscribe at the Fan Rochester on YouTube and Twitch. And you can even get us on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan alongside Gene Battaglia. I am merely Mike Danger.
Yeah, we'll get to all the fun stuff in the NFL, including the Buffalo Bills here in a second. I am just wondering, we have these reports, Danger, that we could have news today in regards to Michigan football and the punishment that could be handed down for Jim Harbaugh. I think they're going to be cowards on this. It sounds like a Friday afternoon news dump, but just hear me out. What could kind of solve the problem for the commissioner who does not want to weigh in and kind of decide this course here, whether Michigan makes it to the playoff or not?
Commissioner of the Big Ten.
Correct. It is Penn State tomorrow. If Penn State can take care of Michigan tomorrow, then the punishment can happen afterward and becomes like a lesser story because, Michigan wasn't a guarantee anyways to get to the playoff.
I just think nothing is going to get resolved with this. I just think they're going to keep kicking the can down the road. There's a lot of lawyers involved, a lot of money at stake. That this will be anything that comes down will be appealed and will get caught up and hung up. Just no resolution until the offseason. I don't think that anything is coming.
I think that's correct, and I think that whatever the first step is in this whole process does not happen this afternoon, contrary to all these other reports.
Yeah, and even if it does, so it's not going to change anything for this weekend. I don't think it changes anything for the rest of the season. You could certainly look at what the future might hold for Jim Harbaugh and see a scenario where, much like Pete Carroll did when he was at USC, he bolts when the heat gets a little bit too hot for him at the University of Michigan. I could totally see that happening, but I don't think anything happens to him this season. I think he skates through the season. But, we'll keep our eye on it. And if there is a Friday afternoon news dump at 5 o'clock, well, we'll be here and we'll pass that along to you. We've got a great show lined up for you this afternoon here in the Sports Bar. On tap in the Sports Bar is brought to you by our friends from Three Heads Brewing. Here's what's on tap at Three Heads Brewing: the Cranberry Grape Sour Ale. Tart cranberries, New York State grapes coming together to make a delicious treat. Get yours at Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue today. And, Gino, we are 1 week away from our next Friday Football Talk Live. We will be at Three Heads on Atlantic Avenue in the neighborhood of the Arts next Friday from 3 until 6 as we get ready for Jets Week.
Yeah, so we have been told there's a lot of things we want to tell you about the show. And we've been saying, all right.
It's going to be special.
We will announce it midweek here coming up why this will be different than others. And I believe that this is like the beginning of the holiday season for us guys, meaning Thanksgiving week. I like Thanksgiving over Christmas for a variety of reasons. And one of them is the less pressure. You can be with friends. You can kind of hang out. And you're on a short week. You're leading into this. So it's the weekend before a short week where nobody's really working next week or heading into Thanksgiving. We are the official kickoff to the holidays, Danger. I ever look at this.
You going to wear a Santa hat a week from Friday?
No. It's not.
Come on.
What did I just say? It's Thanksgiving over Christmas.
I know, but you said the holidays. I mean, when you say the holidays, I just immediately think of Christmas. I know that Thanksgiving is a holiday, part of the holiday season, but where does it end? Is Halloween part of the holiday season?
I remember the one time when we first started doing this show, and they asked us, which was kind of cool, like the Amherst said, hey, will you come out and host On the Ice here our St. Patrick's Day? Yeah, absolutely. And Gene, will you wear a leprechaun outfit? I'm like, I am not wearing a leprechaun outfit. And you were egging me on to do that. So why do you think my position for dressing up would change?
Not dressing up, just a Santa hat. What's wrong with a Santa hat? You won't wear a Santa hat on Friday?
No, if anything, there's going to be some special guests. If anything, I'll wear something in honor of the special guest.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll have more info on Friday Football Talk Live a week from today, coming up middle of next week. But it is going to be a special afternoon, and we hope you have the time to join us next Friday to kick off the holiday season. As Gino says, we will be live from Three Heads on Atlantic Avenue 1 week from today. Joining us this afternoon in the sports bar to make some tweaks to your fantasy football Week 10 lineup, our fantasy Goomba, Tony Cotillo from Win Daily Sports, joins us from Philadelphia.
Yeah, we want you to kind of get by, and we'll get his thoughts on many of these games, including... All right, I'll just kind of address this right now because I've been asked many times, you've been asked, hey, are you guys changing your survivor pick? The answer is no. We are not changing our survivor pick. Cincinnati over Houston. Yes, I am totally aware that T. Higgins is not going to be playing in this game. Yes, I'm aware that C.J. Stroud did these amazing things last week against Tampa Bay. Yes, I'm aware that the line has gone from Cincinnati -8 to Cincinnati -6.5. What that's telling you, the square, is come on, bet Houston. You're getting points with Houston. Come on in. The water's warm.
I'm buying.
Wait, I thought you were with me.
No, I am, but as far as betting goes, for Survivor, yes, I think Cincinnati wins, but I'm taking those points with Houston.
Okay, so you're saying Cincinnati wins and it'll be sweaty. Mm-hmm. We haven't had really a sweat with Philadelphia, maybe a little bit with Washington.
I don't think they win by more than a touchdown. I think Houston keeps it close. I think they keep it close. I think I got Houston plus 6.5, which I don't love, but 2 field goals. Yeah, I could live with that.
Okay,
but Cincinnati's winning, right? Like I'm with you on that. I just think that that's a lot of points to give Houston. But there's so much to get to for this weekend, and not only Tony Cotillo from Win Daily Sports Talk Fantasy, but also with Zach Gelb, who joins us here in about 15 minutes or so. Zach Gelb from CBS Sports Radio, who used to hear right after our show every night. Now he's buried underneath us on the network because he's national, we're local, and Zach is doing afternoons on CBS Sports Radio. But you will hear him Sunday if you're out and about and you want to stay up to date with what's going on in the NFL. Eye on the NFL, Eye on Football.
Eye on Football is the show.
Fantastic.
Yeah, because what they do is they go from game to game to game, and then they'll bring you the post-game sound while they're giving you the updates. It's almost like Red Zone Radio, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So and I'm looking at what I got to do at home, Danger, yard work. Just pop the earbuds in and listen and get kind of your updates while you're being productive. There's a shortcut. Because, are there any games that you're going to be, I got to check this out? Now, if you're a Browns fan, sure. 1 o'clock, that is actually on Fox. Browns and Ravens, that's interesting. I'm not revolving my morning around Colts and Patriots in Germany. That's not happening. So
I'll have it on. I'm not revolving my morning. Like last week, I revolved my morning around the Chiefs and Dolphins, which took a little bit of finesse, by the way, because it was my mother-in-law's birthday, and they were all over at the house on Sunday morning for brunch. So, but that was still like, okay, we're revolving it around the football game. It'll be on. I'll have it on. I don't know that I'll revolve my life around it, but it will be on.
So your mother-in-law will let you watch football. My mother-in-law lets me watch football. She doesn't like football, but
she's not watching it with us. Like the guys are in the tank, and we're watching the game in the basement, but the girls are upstairs and they're doing their chatty, drinking their coffee and eating their Italian desserts, and we're downstairs drinking our coffee and eating our Italian desserts, watching football. So that was last Sunday. This Sunday might be a little bit more calm, and the game certainly won't be as entertaining when you're talking about the Colts and the Patriots. A lot of talk out of New England too, by the way. If they lose in Indianapolis, the chatter is only going to get louder and louder here as the season goes on about Bill Belichick's future with the Patriots.
They're not going to do anything in season. I thought last night last night, okay, that's not I cannot believe we lost this game, I'm furious. Like, the owner can't be set off if the kicker misses a long field goal at the end. I thought Frank Reich would be in trouble. I still don't think Frank Reich's going to be back next year, by the way. I don't think, like, the way that Bryce Young has gone as compared to C.J. Stroud, the owner is going to hold Frank Reich responsible.
I've got a take on the Panthers for next year based on what we saw last night, based on Bryce Young. There's a lot of elements missing from that team, but I've got one that they can go out and get, and when it happens, it will be perceived as impactful. But at minimum, it will be a welcome addition for what that team needs.
Okay, I've got a quick take on last night's game.
Tell me.
Okay, so I did not watch any of it.
Get out of here. You didn't watch any of it?
No.
I can't even call you a liar if you're telling me the truth. That kind of hurts a little bit, Gene. But
I could go full on TMI, but you don't want that.
I think I know what your take is going to be just based on how you set it up. Can I lay it out?
All right, go for it.
I didn't watch any of last night's game, but I can tell you definitively, 100% with certainty, the ugliest uniforms in all of sports are the Chicago Bears alternate orange uniforms.
I did have that on Twitter, and I did get reaction. Other people kind of chimed in. And that was not the take based on what happened last night. But we'll take a detour here. Do you agree with that?
I think they're hideous. I agree with you. You could go. You know what it is for me? I don't mind the orange jersey. It's the orange helmet. The orange helmet is too much. What are we doing? And they've had other alternates and throwbacks that like the old throwback from like the 20s. It has like the helmet looks like the Michigan helmet, except it's orange instead of yellow. Like, I'm down with that. That's good. That's a good looking throwback. My throwback that Master Stroke Jr. got me with the Peterman throwback jersey is that jersey. I'm down with that. The orange on orange, yuck.
No, that is going against the tradition and everything that franchise. Can you imagine somebody like Mike Singletary wearing that? Dick Butkus wearing that? That should be the question you should ask. Like, can you imagine our all-time greats putting on this? No,
it's kind of embarrassing.
It is
not really.
I would just get rid of it.
I'm surprised they won wearing those duds, but they pulled it off.
He pulled it off. It was close, all right, and it was a sweat, all right, because. How long was that last kick? 59 yards?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that was your former kicker, right?
Eddie Pinheiro.
Pinheiro. So Eddie Pinheiro, I've seen the highlight where, misses the kick. He does the thing that if you're a father like I am, okay, you should never do. What does he do after he missed the kick? The shoulder shrug. Oh my gosh.
Don't know what to tell you guys. Just don't have it today.
Well, you know what? What am I going to say? It was 59. Cut him immediately. Cut him immediately. Like the shoulder shrug emoji. If you do the what am I going to do?
Yeah.
No, take responsibility.
Yeah.
That emoji drives me nuts.
The shoulder shrug.
The shoulder shrug. I got that one time with my kids. I'm like, no, don't ever do that again. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm going way out there for this.
I get it. Take ownership of your mistakes instead of, hey, what do you want me to do?
What do you want me to do?
Don't know what to tell you.
59 yards on grass.
Don't really know what to say. You guys asked me to do more than I'm capable of doing. Sorry. Shrug. Goodbye. Get out of here. Yeah, if you're going to cut anybody, that's the guy that you would cut today. I don't have a problem with that. Eddie Pinheiro, you can find another kicker. Somebody that won't shrug after he misses a potential game-tying field goal.
Yeah, it's like that would be a lesson. Like, okay, guys, we lost a tough game, but moving forward, we're not going to have that body language.
Yeah. Look at the body language of the head coach, though. I mean, I know you don't watch the game, but when I saw Frank Reich, he looks like the ghost of Frank Reich at this point of his career.
His soul is gone.
He's absolutely being decimated by that organization. And I imagine when he talks about meeting with the owner every week, I imagine that those meetings are soul crushing, that there's nothing about those meetings that he gets out of them that make him better or make him feel good. I mean, he knows the game. He's a pretty good coach. He's got some success under his belt, and he's got an owner who doesn't know the game, who wants results now, impatient. Like, you just can't. It's a recipe for disaster. There's a lot to say about the Panthers when they lose to the Bears, the team that they traded all those picks to get Bryce Young, and he loses to a Division II undrafted quarterback. There, it was not a good game. Look, let's just put that out there. You didn't watch it. I'll give you the Cliff Notes. It wasn't a good game. I actually bet that there would be a defensive touchdown or a special teams touchdown scored by the Panthers, because I thought before the game either Bajan is throwing a pick six, they're going to get points somehow off of the Bears, either off a pick six or special teams. And lo and behold, the only touchdown scored by the Panthers came on special teams with a punt return. Neither team looked good. 12 penalties, 12 punts, just kind of gross. It was not an easy watch.
No, but Bajan has bought himself like 5 years in this league. If he wants to be the quarterback, to be a backup.
Oh, he'll be a backup.
Bounce from team to team, maybe practice squad. I mean, the idea, and you brought this up yesterday, what if the number 1 overall pick, Alabama quarterback, Heisman Trophy winner, loses to an undrafted Division II quarterback? I love this game. I mean, don't you love a story like that?
But when you watch the two side by side, and like Bajan had a throw last night, and when I saw it, I'm like, that does not look like an NFL caliber throw. It did, like, the ball was a duck, man. It just, like, the easy throws look so challenging for him, and we take for granted how good quarterbacks make easy throws look effortless, right? Mm-hmm. And even Young still has that. Like, he has that ability. The size makes me a little bit nervous, right? I mean, he's Flutie, he's Kyler Murray, he's a small guy, he's a 5'10" guy. I'm just curious as to what he looks like in this league down the road, because right now that team doesn't have your best weapon is a 33-year-old Adam Thielen. Yeah. So, you know what? We'll save some more of that talk from last night's game when we have Zach Gelbaum with us here in a few. And we'll talk more NFL with Zach when he joins us here in the Sports Bar.
The Bills have just put out, I guess this would qualify as breaking news.
Breaking news in the Sports Bar.
Ow! 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 It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
Did I just hear your watch saying I didn't get that?
Yeah, Siri.
Okay, yeah, quiet, Siri. Limited today, still going through concussion protocol, is Terrell Bernard. Limited today. Was not in the injury report yesterday. Injury back. Steph Diggs.
Okay.
I don't know anything about that. Christian Benford, again, did not practice today with a hamstring. That doesn't look promising. Micah Hyde did not practice again. He's got that neck issue. That does not look promising. Leonard Floyd was under the weather yesterday. Full participant today. A.J. Klein, Jordan Poyer, Balin Spector, who were all limited or not practicing yesterday again. Floyd, Klein, Poyer, Spector, all practicing full today.
Okay. I don't think Hyde's playing this weekend. I'll just put that out there.
I would think that soft tissue with Benford, maybe not either.
I would think Benford and Hyde are both probably. Brace yourself for no Benford. Brace yourself for no Hyde.
Oh, boy.
Diggs was limited or out? He was limited. Limited with the back. I think Diggs will probably be okay. But Hyde and Benford, you'll see more Rasul Douglas and probably more Taylor Rapp.
Better not have been that camera guy in Cincinnati that Diggs ran over there. What are you doing? You should be that close to the end zone, dude.
Yeah, because he was a little bit gimpy after that, right? He came up a little lame. Yeah, that was. But again, you judge Diggs by the quality of his character. He got up, and as he got up, he was like making sure that the guy was okay. Are you okay? You can hear it on the camera. Like, are you okay? Are you okay? He was making sure that the guy that he ran into, that was oblivious to the fact that he was about to get trucked by Steph Diggs, was okay. Let's hope that Steph Diggs is okay, and if he's limited today, take it easy, and that final practice tomorrow, we'll tell the story before we get to Monday. And speaking of Monday, the game will be on the Fan Rochester. Our pregame afternoon, Monday afternoon, we'll give you a heavy lift, a 1-hour show from 3 until 4, the pregame show here.
Basically, that's all right, here's our pick for the game, and let's all kind of react to what we saw on Sunday. That's Monday's show. I did get an interesting take. And you can reach the thing about Danger and I, you can reach us after hours. You can reach us during the show. Our handle at The Fan Rochester. Our phone number 866-4FAN, 866-4326. One of our regular contributors, Tim in San Diego, reached out to me. This is an interesting take. What if that meeting wasn't called by Latavius Murray and they just needed Murray, the veteran, to go out and just kind of say something? What if it was Tim has a theory that it was either Diggs or Allen who called the meeting, but they realized if Steph Diggs is the one who calls the meeting and that gets to be known out there, the players-only meeting that happened, then that becomes a much, much bigger story.
Pretty smart to think that way, and it makes a lot of sense. Here's Sean McDermott from his press conference today on the players-only meeting.
I love it. I love it. You talk about leadership and accountability, two words that are very important to me, and you need player-driven leadership, and you need player-driven accountability as well. And I think it's a great example of both. I think it's a great example of a player who's not a captain, and quite honestly, he probably would have been a captain had he been here longer. But a player who's been around, who's a winner, a man of high character and a pro, and he is doing what needs to be done. And we spoke, Tay and I, on, I believe it was Tuesday or Wednesday, and I appreciate that. It's not anything going on, behind closed doors. It's from hey, I'm going to do something that nobody knows about. It's just, hey, he was disclosed it to me, and in full transparency, and he went out and communicated it to his teammates. And again, it's just like I've told you before. We're working hard at it, and we're drilling down every hole that we can. Sometimes you find something, sometimes you don't, but you drill down the next hole, and that's what we've been doing. No different when we were 7-6 a few years ago. No different Super Bowl year in Carolina. No different. Von mentioned the other day, speaking of Von, that they were Carolina at the Rams, and they didn't win the month. They lost, I think, the month of November. They went winless or something like that. And so very rarely do you come out and is it smooth sailing the whole year. You'd like it to be, but you fight through it. That's what winners do.
How excited do you think Terry Pagula is to hear Sean McDermott talking about drilling down? Drilling down holes. You drill down this hole, you drill down that hole.
Maybe that's subliminal. Don't let me go.
Job security.
Job security.
It's job security using that analogy.
We got to drill down. And Sean McDermott says it's great. I know a lot of fans would be like, yeah, this is one guy holding everybody accountable. And I stand by my take from yesterday. I think it's more likely that it was a bitch session. What's going on here, guys? Or something like there's one guy that's not doing or pulling their weight here, whatever that is. I know we all want to say, let's hold each other accountable, players only meeting. Nah, something's really off there if you're resorting to that.
Let's get Zach Gelb in next, and we'll get his take on the Buffalo Bills. Now, keep in mind, Zach is a national guy. He's on CBS Sports Radio. He has takes on the Bills. He has takes on every NFL team, and I'm curious to see from his perspective, from his point of view, what he sees out of the Buffalo Bills this season, what may be missing from the Buffalo Bills this season. And we'll take a wider view as well at the rest of the AFC East. No Miami this week, but we'll talk Jets. We'll talk Dolphins as well. And just, talk some NFL with the guy that you hear on Sunday going around the NFL with Eye on Football.
Eye on Football.
Yeah, that's going to be great. Zach Gelb joining us next in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Fan Rochester. Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan. The weather gets colder. The NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. And right now, if you're a new customer, you can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So think about taking the Bills on the money line for the Monday night game and use this offer for new customers on FanDuel. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is easy to use, and you've got a wide range of betting options, everything from spreads to player props, over-unders, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/Mike to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel.com/Mike, M-I-K-E, and join me on FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Odyssey has sports for every fan.
Night tonight in the Flower City, the Rochester Americans hosting Utica. It's the front end of the home and home. Head coach Seth Appert on his banged-up team.
I've become a better coach when I stop worrying about things I can't control. These are just game injuries, and it's a physical sport. It happens. This is why you have the depth that you have in the organization, and I fully expect us to play a strong game and give ourselves a chance to win, regardless of who's in the lineup or who's not.
Don Stevens will be live at 7 o'clock with the call tonight. Also tonight in the Flower City, 20th ranked RIT Tigers are home as they take on Mercyhurst. Buffalo Sabres hockey tonight can be heard on 96.5 WCMF. The Sabres hosting Minnesota. Micah Hyde and Christian Benford did not practice today. Stefan Diggs showing up on the injury report. He was limited today with a back injury. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Welcome back into the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia with you to kick off your sports weekend, and welcoming in one of our favorites, one of our friends. You hear him on CBS Sports Radio, the great Zach Gelb, joining us now in the sports bar. Zach, we've spent a lot of time this week talking about the inconsistencies of the Buffalo Bills. They'll win one, they'll lose one. The offense, to our eyes, doesn't look like it's completely in sync. Wanted to get your take on what you're seeing out of the Buffalo Bills as they head into their Monday night game against Denver.
Yeah, Danger and Battaglia, thanks so much, first and foremost, for having me once again. Always love jumping on with you guys. I just think the Bills are missing it this year. I know that sounds very ambiguous, but in years past, they had a presence to them. There was a confidence to them. There was a force to them and a belief that they were building something special. And let me preface what I'm about to say with saying that I love Sean McDermott. Sean McDermott, I was advocating for him to get a job as the head coach in Philadelphia well before he even got a head coaching job with the Buffalo Bills. But I think Sean McDermott maybe has taken the Bills as far as he can, which was to a very respectable level. We all know how long it was since the Bills didn't make the playoffs, but now just making the playoffs isn't good enough. It's about delivering Buffalo that Lombardi trophy. And when I look at both sides of the ball, if you see defense, it's clear they're missing Matt Milano, who's just such a big, courageous part to this team. Tre'Davious White, they've dealt with his injuries before. Von Miller's not at 110%. But on offense, I still think they just asked Josh Allen to do too much. And that's why, even though I'm not this big advocate for individual running backs, I think the last few years when you had some running backs available at the trade deadline, whether it was McCaffrey or this year, if it was Derrick Henry, I thought the Bills needed to pounce to make a move just to make more of a commitment with a big name to the run game.
Yeah, Zach, as far as McDermott, he took on the added responsibility this year of being the defensive coordinator. We debate on our show all the time. Is that too much, not for McDermott, for any head coach to be just not overseeing everything, but also to be responsible for one side of the ball?
I think delegation's so big when you're a head coach. If he feels like, and I don't even know if he thinks his seat is warm because of the relationship he has with Brandon Beane, and quite frankly, it's one thing for us to say the seat is warm, but I don't know internally if that seat is actually that warm. So that's something that we still have to figure out. But when it does feel like a make-or-break year for Sean McDermott, and whatever happened with Leslie Frazier, you basically kick him out of the building, retire, whatever you want to call it, and then you take over that defensive play calling. I don't care if it's too much or not for him. That defense just simply has to be better, because then that's a poor reflection on a head football coach. And I think what you're seeing is Sean McDermott's just a really good coach, and he could maybe take you to an AFC Championship game, as we've seen, take you consistently to the playoffs, dominate that division. But I think they're going to need a little bit of a reset to get the most out of Josh Allen and this team, whatever the Bills look like for the next 2-3 years. And when I say that, I think you need to bring in an experienced guy, because I don't want to hitch my wagon to an unexperienced coordinator, because that's always 50-50 if they turn out to be a great head coach. I said this in September after the first loss to the New York Jets, and now maybe there's more of a real chance of it happening with the pending potential suspension and all the nonsense going on at Michigan with the sign stealing. We know Jim Harbaugh, when he gets to the NFL, he can win. He went to San Francisco, 3 NFC title games and a Super Bowl appearance, and I think Jim Harbaugh would fit Buffalo perfectly, where he's like a quirky kind of guy, would fit into the passion and just the craziness that comes with being a part of Bills Mafia, and there's an experience to him, and I think he would thrive and get the Bills back in the right direction.
Interesting. Zach Gelb, our guest here, CBS Sports Radio on the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. You mentioned something, Zach, that I want to go back to, that the Bills are asking too much of Josh Allen. And I kind of want to challenge that a little bit because in the NFL, when you see quarterbacks ascend and become superstar, elite-level quarterbacks winning Super Bowls, whether you're talking about Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, they're psychotic. They want to be involved to a point where you can't tell them no. And I'm wondering if Josh Allen has that in him, or if Josh Allen just doesn't have. We hear he's a competitor. We know he's a competitor, but does he have that level of competitiveness to his game?
So I think he does, but I think the difference when you mention Brady and Peyton specifically is that those guys were traditional pocket passing quarterbacks. So when you ask them to do everything and throw the ball 50 times a game, you weren't exposing their bodies as much as Josh Allen is when he escapes the pocket and then runs, and we all know the heart and will that he has, and he decides to take on like an entire team and run right through them like it's a brick wall. That's my concern, is we've seen this now for the last 2-3 years, and there's been some games here of James Cook being solid. In years past, Devin Motor Singletary, now with the Texans, there were some games where he was solid too, but there's just been no consistent piece in the run game that Josh has been able to hand the ball off to, and then that takes some of it off his plate and also preserves him for the postseason and not exposing his body for so many hits.
Well, Zach, his injuries are all coming in the pocket. He's like a sitting duck in the pocket when he doesn't escape or evade and make something out of nothing, which we've seen him do time and time again. I mean, you don't really see anybody like in Baltimore putting the restrictor plate on Lamar, or even in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes. Why is Josh Allen different?
So it's a good question. I think Mahomes is such an outlier, but the Lamar Jackson comparison is definitely a fair one because you look at Lamar Jackson, they've not done anything like what Buffalo has done in terms of getting him a legit number one wide receiver. Now, they've tried in the draft with Rashad Bateman. They just tried with Zay Flowers. Odell Beckham is washed up. But I think that when you look at Baltimore, that team is only set up to succeed with Lamar doing everything because of the lack of weapons. You have Stephon Diggs, which could air out the passing game, and that's why I just think if you go get a running back in there, it could be so tough to defend the Buffalo Bills, where then guys like Dalton Kincaid and Gabe Davis, who's being asked a lot of right now, become even more important when you go into the red zone. Like, imagine this team could line up in the red zone, and you had Josh Allen, Derrick Henry, then you have Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, and then Dalton Kincaid. Like, I don't know how you try to stop that defense just because of the diverse options. And that's what I just think is missing with Buffalo. They have some diverse options, and they could have diversified it even more, where in Baltimore it's clear they're just saying, hey, it's Lamar Jackson. Lamar, run around, throw around, find Mark Andrews, and then do everything to lead the team to victory. So I think there's a little bit of a different approach where the Bills have some more pieces, but they are kind of going like 75% there, where I want to see them go all in and really go for that championship and add something to that backfield.
Zach Gelb, our guest, who you'll hear this Sunday on the Fan Rochester. Eye on football, noon to 8 Eastern time, with the Bills playing on Monday Night Football. But one game that's going to fall out, the only game that on Sunday that's going to fall outside your window, Zach. New England and Indianapolis in Germany. And we know you follow the Patriots. How or where does this Bill Belichick story go from here?
They stink. There's no doubt about it. I said very early on in the season I wanted them to lose as many games as possible because Bill's still a good coach. And, you know, even with after Brady, they won like 11 games, 7 games, 8 games, 9 games, whatever it is. And the roster just has not been that good. So Bill, the GM, has not done a good job. But I still think Bill Belichick, the coach, can still be a top coach in this league. Now, this year, they are bottoming out. And I think it's a good thing for the franchise. And the compelling part of this now is do they move on from Bill Belichick after the season? There's a lot of smoke out there that suggests that would be the case. Maybe Bill wants to go somewhere else, kind of like what Brady did towards his end in New England, and then he goes to Tampa Bay and wins the Super Bowl. You know, you look at Bill Belichick, I think the Chargers would be an intriguing option for him. Mike Floyd on my show, who suggested that maybe it's the Commanders, and he thinks Josh Harris. He's been hearing some rumors that Josh Harris will call Kraft after the year and try to get a deal done for Belichick. Something still just tells me, though, with what they've done for the last 24 years that Robert Kraft is going to prefer to keep Bill Belichick around for one more year. And let's see how far they could take this season in terms of losing. But right now they would have a top 5 draft pick. I'm hoping they could get into that number 2 or number 1 spot. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to move past Carolina, which would then be the Bears pick, because I think it's time to get a new quarterback there and do this thing right, which they did not do with Mac Jones, because Mac Jones, as you guys know, first year, team went to the playoffs. They asked him to be a game manager, and then they surrounded him with 2 bozos in Matt Patricia and Joe Judge, who were defensive-minded and special teams coach to run the plays. And then this year they bring in an actual offensive mind, but he still doesn't have a number 1 wide receiver. And that's the thing for me. I think they messed up Mac Jones, so reset the time clock. I don't think there's fixing Mac Jones in New England. You go get a quarterback, but you got to surround him with young pieces. And look at Josh Allen. Like, when did Josh Allen take off? When he got Stephon Diggs. When did Jalen Hurts take off? When he got A.J. Brown and Jalen Waddle. When did Devontae Smith? When did Tua take off? When he got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. You have to have good coaching, and then you also have to have some talent around your young quarterback to get the best out of him.
Zach, I want to stay in the AFC East because the Jets are the Jets are a little bit of a mess offensively. I'm stating the obvious here, but Vegas.
Yeah, you're being nice today. You're usually not nice. I guess it's a Friday. You're trying to get people to feel good.
Vegas is interesting going into the Sunday night game as they host the Jets. I'm curious about this Sunday night game, and I'm curious as to what your take is on what we might see come later on Sunday night.
If any team could score 20 points against the Jets defense, I think that's the number where you should feel very confident in winning the game. And the Chargers didn't even need to do that much. And I was at that game Monday night at MetLife Stadium between the Chargers and the Jets. You know, it does feel open this year in the AFC. And I think through 10 weeks, even though the standings may not indicate it, well, it does with the Ravens and the Chiefs. I think they are 2 of the top 3 teams, and then the team that the record doesn't indicate it, the Bengals, as well inside the AFC. But if Rodgers was healthy with the Jets, because you watch the Jets, their defense is kick-ass. On offense, their line is an issue, which still would have been an issue with Rodgers, but you have Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. Every time I watch the Jets, I just say, imagine if they had Rodgers. I think they would have been a legitimate force this year to not only make a deep playoff run, but maybe end up playing in the Super Bowl. I don't think it would have been a lot, clearly, because there's some good teams in the AFC like I just laid out, but it does feel like Kansas City's begging people this year with the way that they've been playing offensively for someone to dethrone them, even though their defense has been really good. But with all that being said, it felt the same way last year when we looked at the Chiefs and people said the Chiefs were vulnerable, and we all know they ended up winning the Lombardi.
Yeah, I think flex scheduling is fake, Zach. If you're not going to flex out the Raiders and Jets, the NFL is saying here basically, you're going to take this game, you're going to like it. We don't want any at the expense of moving the game.
How about that dog crap game the other night? Like, some of these primetime games are horrible. You had on Monday, Chargers and the Jets. Last night, Bears and Panthers. And now on Sunday, we get the Raiders and the Jets. But here's the thing. We could all bitch and complain about it, say how much it sucks. We'll all sit on our couches, eat our nachos, our wings, order Chinese food, whatever you want to do on Sunday night, and we'll all place our bets, and we'll all watch the games, and the ratings will be fantastic for the NFL.
No doubt.
We're suckers. We're all addicted. The biggest drug in this society is the NFL. Yeah. We're all addicted to it.
Yeah, there's no question, Zach. Of the games that you're going to be talking about on Sunday, I'm intrigued by Niners and Jags, and here's why. Because we all thought San Francisco was ready to kind of ascend, maybe be that Super Bowl team, and they haven't looked that way the last couple of weeks. And you're coming off a bye, and this is a game. Boy, can the Niners actually afford a third straight loss? How do you view this team right now, Zach?
Yeah, they lost 3 in a row. Now they're coming off that bye. They could lose 4 in a row. And when I see this game on the flip side, too, it's a big statement for Jacksonville. Because Jacksonville's a good team. But are they a great team? And they had an opportunity in Week 2 up against the Chiefs, a game that I thought the Jaguars were alive to cover and win the game outright, where they were at home in Duval, and Kansas City only scored, I think it was 17 points in the game, and the Jaguars lost because they didn't get in the end zone, and they had 3 Brandon McManus field goals. So on both sides, I think there's intrigue. Can the Jaguars get a win that would suggest they're ready to take that next step? And then for the 49ers, you bring up a great point with the losing streak. If this continues even after making Steve Wilkes go from the booth upstairs down to the sideline, then people are going to look at the 49ers sideways. But I will err on the side of caution in terms of slamming the San Francisco 49ers just because the last 2 years or so they've gotten off to slow starts. So they haven't been great through the first 9-10 weeks of the season, and then every year it seems like they wake up in the NFC title game. But I do think the inconsistency and the lack of conviction of who your quarterback is makes it tough to win, even with a great roster. And that's what the 49ers are seeing, where they can get very close, but yet so far.
Zach, I want to inspect one more game, and it's a game that's very near and dear to my co-host's heart over here. Gino has survived through 10 weeks of his survivor pool, and pickings are getting a little slim. So this
I'm alive as well.
This week, it's the Bengals is the pick. The Bengals hosting the Texans. Are you buying into the Texans based on what we saw out of C.J. Stroud and what was a historic performance last week against the Bucs, or do you think Cincinnati, on the roll that they're on right now, are going to be too tough?
Well, I'll answer the question, but first we got to figure out the management here of Gene first. You don't have the Cowboys still alive up against the Giants, or you already used the Cowboys?
We use the Cowboys over your Patriots. We use the Bills week 2. Here's my take, because really we're left with, I don't trust that Jags-Niners game. I wasn't going to go way out and take last night. Yeah. Or the other game we were looking at, Pittsburgh-Green Bay. No, I don't have a feel on that one. I just think that Lou Anarumo going against the rookie quarterback, a quarterback who, by the way, looked great last week and 2 weeks ago lost to Carolina. So that, to me, looks like a young team. Now, I understand that Cincinnati has got a really interesting matchup that's coming Thursday night. I understand the fear of a trap game. But Zach, where are you leaning this weekend?
Yeah, I think it's a game that you may sweat. But I do believe the Bengals will end up winning, and that's the only thing that matters in a survivor pool. I think this is a game where the Texans show you they're moving in the right direction. They will keep this game very close through 3 quarters, but when the 4th quarter hits, you will see why Joe Burrow is one of the more valuable players in the NFL. And even though the Bengals are dealing with some injuries, that does not matter to me as long as their quarterback is healthy. I think this is going to be a fun game. But ultimately, I do feel like the Bengals will win the game. And it's probably, the Texans, they're 4-4. They're better than anyone could have thought. I did think they were going to lose a few weeks ago to the Panthers coming off a bye. Everyone praising C.J. Stroud. Stroud's been incredible. But when you go up against Lou Anarumo, which is a very good point, that guy continues to be one of the more underrated people in football. And how he doesn't have a head coaching job yet, I think is a disgrace with what he's done with that Bengals defense the last 2-3 years. So, yeah, Gene, I think you'll be good. I don't want to mush it. I hope that you end up advancing to Week 11, but if you go down, this was your decision first, not mine.
And I know it wasn't a sexy matchup last night, but humor me for a second, Zach. What's the conversation in Carolina like today when the number 1 overall pick loses to an undrafted Division II quarterback in Chicago, the team that you gave up everything for this guy? I mean, somebody's losing their job in Carolina, right?
Yeah, so this is sloppy ownership by David Tepper, this is my analogy for David Tepper. He's the guy that owns the restaurant, and then he goes into the kitchen, and he says he wants chicken parm, and the guy that's been cooking chicken parm for 20 years, he goes, step aside, you don't know what you're doing. I'm going to cook chicken parm, and I've never been a cook in my life. That's what I feel like David Tepper does, where he owns the team, and then he thinks he knows how to make the chicken parm, but he doesn't have that experience. And you did see it in that draft process, and I believe Adam Schefter, and you've even seen the video of Frank Reich and McCown basically telling C.J. Stroud they can't wait for him to come to Carolina and play basketball with him. They wanted C.J. Stroud, and it's clear that David Tepper wanted Bryce Young. Now, I don't think Bryce Young is trash. I think he could be a really good quarterback in this league, and I liked him coming out of college, and I thought he was the best quarterback in this draft class, so there was some merit to wanting a guy like Bryce Young. But you look at Carolina, the O-line stinks. They don't have a number 1 wide receiver, and I said this when they signed Miles Sanders. He was a product of the Eagle system, and he's vastly overrated. So you're asking Bryce Young to do a lot, and you have nothing around him. So this offseason, they need to beef up that offensive line. They don't have the number 1 overall pick, like you guys said, and you have to go try to get a number 1 wide receiver. And I think that's a whole lot to ask, and I'm just going to imagine next year the Panthers are at like 4 or 5 wins, and even though that would be an improvement from where they are this year, if you know those are the first 2 years for Frank Reich, he's probably out of a job. out of 2 years as the head coach of the Carolina Panthers.
Zach Gelb, our guest, and if you haven't checked out Ion Football, this is the week to do it with the Bills playing on Monday night. Zach, I think you have one of the best jobs in all of sports talk radio, just to be the point guard and to kind of take it all in and go around the league here. It's got to be a lot of fun, bud.
Definitely a whole lot of fun, and I appreciate you guys carrying us this weekend for the entirety. I can't wait to speak to the great fans of Rochester and keep you up to date on Ion Football, and it's a fun show. We have reporters in every stadium, instant reaction, and we keep you up to date in the fantasy world, the betting world as well. And then once the games end, we go right to the podium and inside the locker rooms and get to talk to some of the coaches and players that are a part of the big plays that you see each and every Sunday.
Zach, you're the best, man. Appreciate the time as always. Looking forward to talking again real soon. Enjoy your weekend.
Mike and Gene, thanks so much. And Gene, good luck on your Survivor Series.
Thanks, Zach.
And you know, while we were talking to Zach, I don't know if you saw this or not, Gino, we got a bit of breaking news in the sports world.
Ow! Ow! It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
The Big Ten is expected to discipline Michigan for the in-person scouting and Stein-stealing investigation. Will prohibit Jim Harbaugh from being on the sideline for the rest of the regular season. He'll be allowed to coach during the week.
So Michigan has been threatening lawsuits and everything. So which judge is going to jump in on a Friday afternoon and say Harbaugh can coach tomorrow in Happy Valley?
Ridiculous. Okay. Can we move on now? I know it's a big story. Yeah, and let's go back to something that Zach Gelb just said.
Okay, so Zach Gelb, national radio host, suggesting that the seat is warm for Sean McDermott. Now, I'm going to say it's not because of the relationship he has with Brandon Beane, even if the season, dare I say, goes 8-9. That could happen.
8-9 and you miss the postseason.
If you miss the
he's fine.
postseason, he's fine. Unless the wild card here, because I don't know what's inside the mind of Terry Pegula and if he wants to change there. But the suggestion that Jim Harbaugh, this would be a fit.
Well, think about it. Is Sean McDermott limited in terms of his reach, where he can take this team? And Zach brought up a lot of instances where you'll see a coach that can only take a team so far. And you have to commend Sean McDermott for pulling Buffalo out of the doldrums, for pulling Buffalo and changing the culture and making them a playoff caliber team year in and year out. That's not the way it was when he inherited the team. But now you have to ask, can he take that next step? Is he a Super Bowl caliber head coach?
I'm going to give you a guy who's top 10 in wins, who turned around teams easily.
Marty Schottenheimer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He got fired after going 14-2.
Right. I don't think that's happening. I don't think there's any sort of reason for Sean McDermott to feel concerned about his future with the Buffalo Bills. But Jim Harbaugh would be an upgrade.
Went to a Super Bowl.
Jim Harbaugh would be an upgrade. It'll be interesting to see how through this Michigan controversy, how Jim Harbaugh's stock rises amongst NFL teams who know right now, today, that Jim Harbaugh is an immediate upgrade from who they have at head coach right now.
Well, I think it's also interesting that Zach bringing up Washington, and here is the new owner of the Commanders, and we see this a lot. I want to have a big name head coach, and I think Ron Rivera did a fine job with what he had, but moving forward, he will not be the guy. And the idea that Washington would pick up the phone, that the new owner, Norris, would pick up the phone and actually, or Harris, whatever his name is, pick up the phone and ask Robert Kraft.
Yeah, that would be interesting. What would be interesting if Ron Rivera loses his job, and I think we've talked about this, is if Sean McDermott picks up the phone and says, hey, I know you probably want to be a head coach, but if you don't get that head coaching gig, would you consider coming here and being a defensive coordinator?
I would welcome that.
Sure.
I think this is too much on Sean's plate right now.
Yeah. Good stuff from Zach Gelb, and we knew he would deliver. Really appreciate him making some time for us. You can hear him this Sunday. Ion Football all afternoon long as Zach goes game to game. It's like Red Zone Radio. Zach Gelb, your host Sunday afternoon here on the Fan Rochester. All right, we've got Tony Cotillo, our fantasy Goomba from Win Daily Sports, standing by. He's going to join us here in about a half an hour or so. More takes on the way. And by the way, you have time in your day. You can pick up the phone and you can call us if you want to share your takes. Pull up a stool at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326. You can be a part of the show. It's Danger and Battaglia in the Sports Bar on 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Odyssey has sports.
BF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Breaking news from college football as the Big Ten has suspended Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh for the final 3 games of the regular season. Harbaugh will be allowed, though, to coach during the week. Micah Hyde and Christian Benford did not practice today. Stephon Diggs was limited with a back injury. Head coach Sean McDermott on playing on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, that's huge. We're undefeated at home this season. That was one of our goals, is to defend our dirt here at home, and that's a big deal here, right? Playing in Western New York, playing on Monday night in this case, and it'll be good to be back in front of our fans here.
We'll have Bills-Broncos coming up on Monday here on the Sports Leader. Tonight, it's hockey night. The Amerks hosting Utica. Don Stevens will have the call at 7 o'clock. Also tonight, RIT is home against Mercyhurst. Buffalo Sabres tonight hosting Minnesota. That game can be heard on 96.5 WCMF. Gene Battaglia in the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
It's Football Friday. Broncos country. Let's ride.
They're a really good football team.
This is a game the Bills should win, and they're very good in Orchard Park. They play their best football in Orchard Park this year, but there's an element to this team that you just don't know how they're going to show up each week.
Mike Danger.
How do you think it's going to go? Okay, go through the same exercise. Who has the better quarterback?
Buffalo.
The better defense?
Well, Buffalo.
Better receivers?
Buffalo.
The Bills should win.
We should win this
on Monday.
Gene Battaglia.
This is one where we'll be maybe tricked into thinking the Bills are back here. I'm thinking this is going to be a comfortable win Monday night finally, but it's not going to be much. It's Denver. Whatever.
Bears held off the Panthers 16-13.
Touchdown! Touchdown Bears!
Why are you so pissy? It's the biggest story in college football. That's why I keep bringing it up. Michigan, man.
College basketball, the NBA season.
The Amerks host Utica.
Go Sabres!
What are they up against tonight in Minnesota?
The Minnesota Wild.
Go Titans! 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Welcome back to the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're listening along locally at 95.7 FM, AM 950. You can hear us in the free-to-download Odyssey app on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. You can even watch the Sports Bar at The Fan Rochester on YouTube and Twitch. Don't forget to like and subscribe while you're there. You'll always know when we go live here in the Sports Bar. Also, reach out to us on Elon's Twitter. That's X, at The Fan Rochester. Like Mike from Sodus Bay, one of our regulars who reached out to ask, hey, if Gene Battaglia won't wear a Santa hat at Three Heads next week, will he wear a Pilgrim's hat instead?
I'm not dressing up, Mike. I'm sorry. That's not happening. It's not in the cards. Danger was trying to go, where is in it?
It's the start of the holiday season. You said it.
Yeah, I have the take that the Friday before Thanksgiving, because it's a short week, this is our kind of way to say, hey, the holidays are here. Let's have a cold one and maybe a one or two. And as soon as you heard the word holidays, your mind went over. Like, why not dress me up as Santa?
Go ahead. It'd be great. It'd be so much fun. We could make it a family event and have kids come by with their parents as they're, enjoying a fine cold. We could share a cold one, maybe a win or two, and you could tell Gene what you want for Christmas.
We can share a cold one and maybe a win or two.
I'm sure we have some regulars that would sit on your lap and tell you what they want for Christmas.
Do you ever wonder, do they really screen Santas properly?
Oh,
never mind.
These are things I don't wonder anymore.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah,
maybe when my kids were of that age, I would wonder, what's this? Mall Santa. What are you about? Background check.
Before we got some takes here, but your reaction to this breaking news, Mike Danger, where, yes, the Friday afternoon news dump did happen. The Big Ten trying to bury this. Here's my take. I'm wondering, there's got to be someone like Saul Rosenberg in Michigan that's looking for an injunction.
Oh, no, I'm going to sue everybody. Yes, I'm going to sue Ohio State. I'm going to sue everybody because this isn't fair. Jim Harbaugh needs to sue for punitive damages because he can't be on the sidelines for the next 3 games.
What do you think of Tony Petitti, Saul?
Tony Petitti?
Yeah, he's the commissioner of the Big Ten.
Oh, he's mean and he's very angry. He threw me down the stairs when I met with him to ask about Jim Harbaugh, and I fell down the stairs and my shoes fell off and I cracked my glasses and now I can't see, goddammit. These guys, the Big Ten, nice flex. I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, 3 games. You get to coach during the week, so you're the coach.
Yeah.
But you can't be on the sideline, so you don't get any airtime. That's the punishment?
Yeah, well, the punishment is when you're tuning in. Oh, the Big Ten means business because he's not a... Okay, like, could Jim Harbaugh actually buy a ticket and just kind of be like, hey, here's the signal I'm going to coach from the stands there? That's the flex I would like.
Right. I think it's just all of it. I know it's a huge story in college football. It's just so ridiculous. And, look, Harbaugh got caught, should be punished. Didn't think that anything was really going to come of this, and I don't think that anything comes of this, even if he's not on the sideline. I think Michigan does just fine against Penn State this weekend. Ohio State will be fun, even if Harbaugh's not on the sideline. And eventually, Harbaugh leaves Michigan the way Pete Carroll left USC. The cycle has repeated itself.
Yeah, he'll probably, if I had to say where does he go, Washington will say, here's a ton of money. Come be our new leader.
The Raiders, Mark Davis. Yeah. That's what it feels like to me. It's a big story, but I don't know if this punishment feels like a joke. It feels like, well, we're going to flex as much as we can, but we can't do what we really want to do. So let's just meet in the middle, and this is the punishment.
The timing of this is a joke.
And by the way, when the college football playoff happens, assuming Michigan is in the college football playoff.
He's back. Yeah. The NCAA is not going to be like, okay. Or any bowl game for that matter. Say they don't make it in. Like, we'll see Harbaugh one last game, you would assume, in January. I find it hilarious, though, that they did this 4:00 Eastern on a Friday, joking about, the Jerky Boys, but we want to prevent any lawsuit or injunction, and, well, the clock's ticking now.
Yeah.
Like, so go find a judge right now.
Well, I can find somebody, and we'll send an injunction, and we'll sue you for punitive damages because you did this in the middle of my day on Friday. I was enjoying a nice soup, and now I have to put my soup aside. I have to go and fill out this paperwork, and I want what's right. I want what's due. To me, my punitive damages. Jim Harbaugh should be on the sideline. Big Ten. Tony Petitti.
I don't think this involves punitive damages.
It does. It's punitive damages. It's Jim Harbaugh. You're smearing his name, and you're dragging his name through the mud, and he's a good man. He's a hard-working man. He's a blue-collar man. He's a Michigan man. And now he can't be on the sideline, and I'm suing everyone. Pete Carroll, I'm going to sue you.
Wait, why are you suing Pete Carroll?
Because he was the first one to do it this way, and I'm suing him. And I'm going to sue Nick Saban, and I'm going to sue everybody.
You can't sue Nick Saban.
I'm suing Nick Saban. Punitive damages.
You can't sue Mike Danger. You can't sue anybody.
I'm suing you, Gene Battaglia, for making me do this voice on demand. And I can't stop once I start. And now I don't know where I'm going. And now I'm lost, and I'm going to fall down the stairs one more time, and my shoes are going to fall off.
All right. I'll send you a lifeline, Saul. You get that. Switching over to the NFL. I've got some takes. I know you got some takes too.
Yeah.
All right. So football this weekend, not the best of schedules. There's going to be one game, though, in the late afternoon window that's not going to be on our TV, but I'm still going to be paying attention, right? And it's a team that we all kind of poo-poo. We kind of say, hey, they're fun. Maybe they'll win one playoff game, and that would be good for them. But that's as far as they'll go. And I was like that. Honestly, at the beginning of the year, I'm thinking, okay, one playoff win, just making the playoffs would be a step for this team. Now I'm thinking they could really go further. And if they win this week, that would be a nice one for them to pick up. Who am I talking about? I'm not talking about Houston. I'm talking about the Detroit Lions. They should win against the Chargers. Yeah. Not only are they going to win that division, that's been kind of decided long ago, it's shaping up they're going to be the 2 seed. As a 2 seed in that conference, you're going to get... not Dallas in round 1. You're going to get some team like Seattle. Well, that's a win. And, well, who's to say they couldn't win another? Especially if you have to host, I don't know, the NFC South winner or whatever. The NFC, that ends up the championship game being Detroit-Philly. Sign me up.
Seattle beat Detroit earlier this year, so I don't know that they would want to face Seattle in the postseason. And I'll take it a step further. I think they can be the number 1 seed. I think Detroit's schedule, the way it shapes up, they could be the 1 seed in the NFC. When you look at who Philly has, when you consider that Philly even by their standards, like they will be the first to admit they haven't played their best football. You watch that fourth quarter of the Dallas game, Philly got dominated by Dallas. Philly's going to lose some games down the stretch here, and Detroit is going to win a lot of games down the stretch. I think Detroit could be the 1 seed in the NFC. Now, if you're the 1 seed in the NFC, who are you getting that after that bye? That remains to be seen.
Well, the good thing is it's really difficult, and then they have a nice soft landing. So to pull this up, oh gosh. After this, the Monday before Thanksgiving, we get Eagles-Chiefs on Monday Night Football. Yep. Wow. And then the Eagles have a short week. Buffalo comes in. The 49ers in a rematch. Ooh, now that's in Philadelphia. And then the Eagles have to go to Dallas. And then they have to go to Seattle.
They're going to lose some games.
Chiefs, Bills, Niners, Cowboys, Seahawks. I still think they go 3-2. And I still think that's going to be enough. Now, the soft landing being here, okay, you get the Giants. Woo.
Yeah, that
and
might
the Cardinals and the Giants again.
Might be enough for them to win the division, to win the NFC East. Now pull up Detroit's schedule and look at the slappies they have yet to play. Because Detroit, you want to talk about a soft schedule. They could be the 1 seed.
Okay, so the Lions this week, we know the Chargers. They host the Bears. They host the Packers. That's actually your Thanksgiving Day game. Wow, it used to be like, oh, the Lions. But no, I'm watching now. The Lions at the Saints the following Thursday. That's a Sunday, I beg your pardon. Oh, they go to Chicago.
They get the Bears twice.
They get Denver. They get Minnesota. They get Dallas. They get Minnesota again.
Maybe one loss. Maybe one.
Maybe the Lions do have the home field.
Lions are going to be the 1 seed, Gino. Wow. I'm telling you right now. I would not be shocked if the Lions end up as the 1 seed in the NFC. Keep an eye on that. What's the conversation like in Carolina today? After last night, you invested 2 first-round picks in order to secure Bryce Young number 1 overall. Last night, the team that you made that deal with beat you and your top pick in the draft with an undrafted Division II quarterback behind center. Here's what's clear about Bryce Young. Oh, by the way, I saw something cross my feed that Panther fans are protesting. They're actually going to march and protest their team and their start. They're going to go to the stadium and do a peaceful protest to make sure that everybody knows that this has got to stop. This is enough. We deserve better than we're going to protest. I'm sorry. We're just not happy. We're
going to do you did this yourself.
Anyways, here's what's clear to me about Bryce Young. It's too early on Bryce Young. The Panthers don't have, and Zach mentioned this last hour too, Zach Gelb. The Panthers don't have really any quality on their roster. No one really on the line. Your number 1 receiver is a 33-year-old Adam Thielen. I'm going to go ahead and call my shot right here, right now. There's a player who will land in Carolina via free agency, and given what Bryce Young needs on the outside, he'll at least be a welcome addition, if not a success in Carolina. Panther fans, let me introduce you to Gabriel Davis, your new wide receiver 1.
Get out. Now, if the Bills were ahead of the curve, can you imagine if they traded Gabe Davis last year? It'd be like, whoa, what? Gabe Davis, I think, is not going to get the offers that would command. He's not a number 1, and I think we know this, and I think the league knows this now, Danger.
Down the stretch, Gabe Davis will make plays for the Buffalo Bills. They'll connect. I mean, look, they've come close to connecting on some of these deep shots, some of these bigger explosive plays. And when Gabe Davis connects on those big explosive plays, we all fall all over ourselves and fall in love with Gabe Davis again. Oh my God, he's so good. Oh my God, he brings such an element to this. We know what Gabe Davis is. We know that he's essentially a straight line runner. Mm-hmm. He's not great and very nuanced in his route running. But if you're Bryce Young, if you're a young quarterback, you need somebody who's got a big wingspan who can go up and get it, somebody who can go deep. I think I bet you Carolina would view him and be like, he could be our number 1. He's still young. He's still got all this. And they'll overpay for him, and they'll make him their wide receiver 1.
I think you're right about overpaying for a wide receiver, but when I'm looking at the free agent wide receivers, and I pulled this up now, a guy I'd like, but it would be a very short window, Mike Evans. He's 30. That wouldn't be a fit. The guy that is hurt this week, T. Higgins, he's going to cash in.
Yep.
He's a number 1. That's going to be the guy that a lot of teams will target. What about Calvin Ridley? It doesn't seem like he popped week 1. It's been up and down for him in Jacksonville. I can't quite figure that out, but he's going to get paid. There's other receivers here, too, that maybe are kind of in that Gabe Davis category. Hollywood Brown in Arizona, Shaheed in New Orleans has popped a little bit. Curtis Samuel with Washington, he's only 27. Tyler Boyd's going to be a free agent too. I don't know that Gabe Davis is going to make a lot of money. I think it could end up being a situation much like Jordan Poyer, like, hey, Gabe, listen, go check it out. And if you don't like what you like, come back.
See, that's where I think it's different. I think that the market for a wide receiver, especially if you're a team that needs help at that position, the way Carolina does, or Chicago, or any of those teams, right? Like you're Chicago, you got DJ Moore, and you're feeling a little bit better, but you really don't have anything behind him. Gabe Davis, because he's known for those big explosive plays, and really that's all he's known for. He makes a couple of them here down the stretch. Watch his value go up. You heard the drum beat over the offseason last year. What could Gabe Davis be? He could be wide receiver 1. Steph Diggs endorsing him. He could be wide receiver 1.
I can't run away from the take. I can't move the goalpost. I said he was a 1B to the 1A. And that was coming off the 4-touchdown performance. Like, you can't score 4 touchdowns in a playoff game and then kind of disappear in the way that Gabe Davis has had. Gabe Davis, I would nominate him for being the most frustrating in fantasy football because the week you don't play him, there he's scoring. And the week you do play him, he's not showing up in Cincinnati.
Yeah. Anyways, I just thought about that as I was watching Bryce Young last time. Like, he doesn't really have any weapons. And when they look to add in free agency, which they'll inevitably do, that feels like a guy that would fit right in Carolina.
I like looking at stories for next week. And again, the story from this week, from the last 20 minutes, Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh suspended. He will not be on the sidelines, but he's allowed to coach. Whatever.
So funny.
This is the story coming up next week. And by this time next week, I don't know what day this is going to happen, or what time for that matter, but we're going to have our first relocation in baseball. Is the vote for the A's move to Vegas that is expected to take place. It's happening, Danger. I don't see how this doesn't get approved, but logistically, this sounds like this is a nightmare. And all the parties involved here deserve a nightmare. Do you know there haven't been legit stadium renderings yet for that?
We can't move forward without artist renderings. Give us what we want. Give us what we need. I want some hot artist renderings to look at.
Well, the artist renderings they put forth are fake. Okay, that was just to get like those in the Nevada legislature to say yes to it. But then people pointed out, like, wait, that stadium can't fit on that footprint. That has to be a much more smaller stadium if you're going to put it there. Oh, oops. Okay, stadium plans. Okay, no check mark. What happens in the 3 to 4 years while that thing is being built? Oh, we haven't gotten to that point yet. No check. Vegas, and I will stand by this take. Too good a market to endorse this cheapo owner, John Fisher. You could wait and get an expansion team, but Nevada's already made a decision to say yes to this guy rather than wait for expansion. Again, all parties deserve a mess. Major League Baseball would be wise to vote this down, but they're not going to.
It's funny when we talk about expansion too, and tell me where you're at with this on baseball, because I know with football, with the NFL, as the NFL talks about expansion, like, we get excited thinking about that, but at the same time, right now in the NFL, what was the stat that there have been 10 rookie quarterbacks?
When Tommy DeVito starts this week,
there'll be 10. That'll be the 10th rookie quarterback.
That's a record.
There's not enough quarterbacks to sustain 32 teams in the NFL. Good quarterbacks. You can get quarterback, but it's going to be ugly. It's going to be Tommy DeVito, who the coaches don't want to see throw the football. So how's that going to look when you add another 2, 4, 6 teams? Even worse? Even worse?
Yeah, it's like baseball has other problems, and we don't talk about like these networks imploding. Like, what happened out in San Diego should alarm every owner. That should be on the agenda. The fact that they missed, or were in danger of missing payroll, they had to take out a $40 million loan just to make payroll.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like they like Juan Soto's gone. That team is going to have a fire sale. Well. That tells me the economics of baseball are kind of messed up here. Oh, here's a solution. You know what? Expansion. Yeah, let's take a few checks and everything is going to be okay.
Well, the money's not in the team. The money's in the stadium. We say it all the time. And if you're the owner of the A's, you get that stadium in Vegas, you'll print money.
Yes and no. The money should be in television for baseball. You're on every single night. And those teams that figured this out and I'm going to put your Cubs in there because they've found a marquee. That's where the money is. Do you have the eyeballs? Are you getting subscriptions? You're not coming to the stadium, but we're going to make you pay anyways? Okay, well then how do teams like the Reds and other small market teams compete? I don't know, but I just find this whole A's move to Vegas just it's sketchy to say the least.
Let's get our fantasy Goomba on with us next. He's Tony Cotillo of Win Daily Sports checking in from Philadelphia and will help set your Week 10 fantasy football lineups as Week 10 got underway last night with the Bears taking care of Carolina by a field goal. Love that Carolina plus 3.5 if you're playing the spread last night. Al even mentioned it at the end of the... Very funny how it ended by the Bears winning by a field goal. Of note for people, like in his sly as always way, Al making reference to the spread as the game went final there. Tony Cotillo, Win Daily Sports, stopping by the sports bar. Next, join us here on 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Sports update.
Breaking news from college football as the Big Ten has suspended head coach Jim Harbaugh for the final 3 games of the regular season. Harbaugh will be allowed to coach during the week, just not on game day. Micah Hyde, Christian Benford did not practice today. Stephon Diggs, limited with a back injury. We'll have Bills-Broncos coming up Monday night here on the Sports Leader. Tonight, it's hockey night. The Amerks hosting Utica. Head coach Seth Efford on his banged-up team.
I've become a better coach when I stop worrying about things I can't control. These are just game injuries, and it's a physical sport. It happens. This is why you have the depth that you have in the organization, and I fully expect us to play a strong game and give ourselves a chance to win, regardless of who's in the lineup or who's not.
Don Stevens will have the call at 7. Sabres tonight on WCMF. They take on Minnesota. RIT is home tonight, hosting Mercyhurst. Gene Battaglia, The Fan, Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Week 10 underway in the NFL. Last night, the Bears get over on the Panthers. Next up, we've got a game in Germany, and let's make sense of it all here as we look ahead to Sunday. Set your fantasy football lineup with our buddy Tony Cotillo from Win Daily Sports, who's good with his time to join us now in the sports bar. So we've got the stench of last night washed off of us. Now we get to look ahead to Sunday morning when we have the Colts and the Patriots. I don't know that there's a lot of fantasy relevance there, Tony, but what are you looking forward to watching the most here come Sunday?
Man, I'll tell you what. It's funny. You mentioned last night's game. I mean, so hard. We already look at Thursday night and hope that we always get a good matchup, but to watch that Drek to me was really tough. Even as a betting perspective, it doesn't matter. But listen, I think for the Indianapolis and New England game, those games are typically tough too. I mean, anytime, whether it's London, whether it's Germany, doesn't matter. Those games are just really tough at times. And you're looking at a team that we have no idea what the offense is for New England. We don't know where it's going. I think the only thing I'm looking forward to is to see, can Jonathan Taylor continue, to get back to form. I mean, I think that's the only kind of relevance that you have as a fantasy player in that game.
Yeah, we'll kind of have it on in the background like last Sunday. That's appointment television.
Yeah.
This not so much here. Tony, I want to ask you about a game, not two teams that are attractive, but from a fantasy perspective, maybe a betting perspective, Atlanta and Arizona. So on one side, like, how frustrating is it watching Atlanta when you're not handing the ball off to B. John Robinson and Arthur Smith is running tight end runs here? But my question is also here, what is your level of trust with Kyler Murray, considering you might, with all these teams on bye this week, Philadelphia, Kansas City, Miami, there's a lot of quarterbacks that are not available. So what would be your trust level this week with Kyler Murray?
No, I'll tell you what, man. This is a really tough one for me, and I'm gonna preface this by saying, I got a nickname a long time called Jigsaw for the simple fact that I'm not afraid to speak my mind, and I said numerous times that Kyler Murray will never win the Super Bowl. Kyler Murray will never win a championship before he even signed that contract. This is a guy to me that's just not bought in. And I look at it, and just look at his numbers. I mean, he's had double-digit interceptions every single year, except 2022 when he got injured. He only played 11 games. So, if you take the rushing element, and he's not even been the best rusher in the world, right? I mean, he's still not on the Jalen Hurts level. He's still not on the Lamar Jackson level. So, for me to think that a guy who looks like he's completely uninvested into his team, to come back from this injury when it looks like maybe he could have come back a little sooner to just take this team to the next level, I have zero faith whatsoever in Kyler Murray, at least for this year, that is. But if you're really desperate, I mean, look, I'm going to tell you, I'd rather start the guy who left to go to Minnesota so he could start in Hobbs. I would start Dobbs over Kyler Murray, and I'm dead serious because at least I know what I can expect from him.
Tony, you want to talk about a game that we are picking in Survivor, but I think there's also some fantasy implications here, and we can wonder just how far C.J. Stroud can go after that performance against Tampa last Sunday. They go into Cincinnati. They take on the Bengals. The Bengals are hot, but the Bengals also can look ahead here to Thursday when they have to face the Ravens in a very important game. Is this a trap for the Cincinnati Bengals?
This is really, really interesting because the Bengals are just running on all cylinders right now. And I don't think this is a trap at all. I think, they're making up for lost time. They came into this year, obviously Burrow. I mean, they made a highlight of it in the game last week about how he could barely push off on his calf. And now you can see he's running a little more. He's a little more exuberant, a little more mobile. And he's getting that, that spark back. But here's what you have to watch, too, though. You have a guy, T. Higgins, not playing. You have a guy who hurt his hammy in Jamar Chase. So now, even if Chase plays, how good is he going to be? So now you're looking at Tyler Boyd possibly and Mr. Irwin being their top two receivers. But one thing I will say is Joe Mixon showed me a different side. He looked like he was rejuvenated the last 2 weeks, an extra speed, an extra little tack on the speedometer. So I think they have what it takes to win this game. I don't think it's a trap game. But on the other side, man, all hats off to C.J. Stroud. I mean, if you're a Carolina Panther fan, are you just dying right now watching C.J. Stroud play?
Yeah, it feels like this could be Peyton Manning, Ryan Leaf at this point. Like how this is, and look, we heard the reports like it was the owner who said, "Hey, Bryce Young is the choice." All right. You're the boss. If that's the case, don't worry about the Bengal receivers. They got Andre Yoshevitz. We wanted Buffalo to draft the Princeton grad. No, it didn't happen that way. Speaking of Buffalo, Tony Cotillo is our guest. The Bills, and I use this analogy here because Sean McDermott, recognizing that his defense is banged up and he wants to give his defense a little bit of a break, and he's slowing down the pace here of this Bills offense. I use the NASCAR phrase, Tony, a restrictor plate. And I think that Sean McDermott has put a restrictor plate on this Bills offense here. Like, they should be up-tempo. They should be in attack mode. And something, like the analytics say one thing, but our eye test says another. Something is off here. So when we're looking at the Bills taking on a Broncos team that, okay, they've been better, but they still gave up 70 points. Is this a breakout game finally for this Bills offense coming up on Monday night?
I sure hope so. And listen, I have all the respect in the world for Sean McDermott, but I think he's dead wrong in this decision. I really do. Listen, one thing for sure we know, this is, you mentioned, it's an up-tempo kind of offense. I mean, you have weapons at every position on this team, and one of the best quarterbacks in the entire football league that can make things happen with his legs and his arm. So what do? Just outscore the other team now. If you're not worried about the defense, then just go balls to the wall and just outscore the other team. I mean, we watched it with the greatest show on turf. Listen, the Rams had no defense whatsoever. They just outscored everybody, right? So, I mean, there's a way, and I think if it's not broke, don't fix. I know it sounds cliche, but this is an offense that's made and predicated on the big play. Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs. I mean, listen, it's got to happen, and for him to just take that back, I don't think that's a good move, man. I don't like it at all, and I think that it looks out of sorts right now because the players are out of sorts and they're just not used to this kind of tempo.
A couple of good teams meeting in the early window, and they're coming off the bye here. The Niners coming off the bye, getting a little bit healthier. Trent Williams, Deebo Samuel, trying to end a 3-game skid. Their road favorites against Jacksonville was kind of disrespectful to the Jaguars, who are a good team in and of themselves. What's your take on this matchup, and how can we, which players can we get into our lineups that might work out in our favor on Sunday?
Yeah, let me tell you, man. You guys remember I was not a San Francisco 49er kind of guy. In the preseason when it came to fantasy, I specifically said stay away, fade, because this is what I saw. I saw a team that was going to be inconsistent, right? So, if you look at this team and the way this matchup is going to kind of play out, I mean, you're still looking at the defensive side of the ball with the San Francisco 49ers, how they got, Trace Young is besides me. I mean, they get another stud on the defensive side. But I think the national pundits are sitting there going, there's no way this team should be 5-3. It's an aberration what they've done the last couple of weeks, and they're going to come out after the bye, they're going to be fine. Christian McCaffrey is an MVP candidate. So I think, obviously he's a guy that you're always going to have in your lineup. Receiver is where it gets interesting from a fantasy perspective. Because, he practiced all week at Deebo Samuel, but again, is he a one-trick pony kind of guy? Can you get consistent targets from him? I still say if you're going to target anybody from fantasy, it's got to be Brandon Ayuk. He's the guy that you want to look at, and I think he'll be the most talented wide receiver in that game on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, Tony Cotillo, Win Daily Sports, talking some fantasy football here as we're trying to help you optimize your lineups here. One team that has not been a source here of fantasy points on offense, but they're winning games. It's Pittsburgh, and they get Green Bay this week. Now, picking this game, Tony, I got to be honest, I don't really have a feel here. How could you with the Steelers and the Packers at this point? But my question centers around George Pickens. We know he has the talent. We have this drama that happened, and I don't like a player that bitches after a loss there. Very uncomfortable. So how do you see this going? Because I could see this going, hey, the best way to get past this is actually just kind of feed him the ball here and get him to pop this week. What are your thoughts here on George Pickens?
This is tough, man. This is, because I was a George Pickens guy, but I'm really hard against, these diva wide receivers and the way they kind of outplay. I mean, at least I dealt with T.O. in this. I love Terrell Owens, but I dealt with him and his diva personification. And you see it over and over again. You even seen it, with Stephon Diggs in the offseason when he wanted to, came out talking about wanting to be in charge of the play calling and things of that nature. I mean, this is what you've developed in the NFL. I'm just shocked it happened on a Mike Tomlin team. Because Mike Tomlin to me is the most hard-nosed, NFL coach there is, and I was shocked that it happened. And I think for a team that is kind of reeling a little bit, even though they're 5-3, they get a guy like a Deontay Johnson back. They have a guy like Al Robinson who's a veteran. You would think that this wouldn't happen, but it has. But I will say this, I would be a little concerned because what you said is usually correct, but I think Tomlin has a little bit of Pete Carroll in him a little bit, and I think if this was DK Metcalf, Pete Carroll would throw the ball to Tyler Lockett instead. And I think they'd kind of show him a lesson. So I could see this game going the other way, and I could see like Jalen Warren getting a little more touches out in the backfield, and a guy even like Deontay Johnson getting double the amount of targets that he used to.
Tony, you mentioned earlier you would start Josh Dobbs from the Vikings over Kyler Murray of the Cardinals. I want to go back to that Vikings. They're hosting the Saints, the Vikings game coming up in the early window on Sunday. And I'm curious as to what your thoughts are on the Vikings skill position players. Alexander Mattison, does he get a bigger workload with no Cam Akers now in the backfield? And what can we expect out of TJ Hawkinson? What can we expect out of Jordan Addison? Anybody that Dobbs might be distributing the ball to?
Well, here's what you have to be very careful about. You have to be very careful because, Hawkinson has a rib issue. So even though he's going to play, he's one hit away from coming out of the game. So I'm just saying, there's one thing I always say as a fantasy player, there's two injuries I hate, hamstrings and ribs. And if you have a guy going into your lineup who's questionable with a hamstring or a rib, it just takes one play and he's gone. So it's a really tough decision. I look at this game and I look at Kevin O'Connell, the way he's going to kind of resurrect this offense like he did last week. You watch Dobbs, he didn't even know half the plays, just comes in and gets it done. I'm going to tell you something. I throw these like curveballs out at people a lot when it comes to fantasy. And I'm looking at this team and I'm looking at guys injured, and like KJ Osborne's banged up. I'm looking at a guy named Brandon Powell. And Brandon Powell to me is one of these guys, these gadget kind of guys that they can utilize all over, like Isaiah McKenzie and Elijah Moore, a Rondell Moore. And Dobbs liked Rondell Moore in that screen game and that kind of run and shoot, kind of sweep personification. I think that you can look at that player, Brandon Powell, this week as being a silent assassin, in that game where he gets a couple big plays. So just keep an eye on that injury report in that skill position because it's going to be tough for Minnesota.
So, Tony, so you are in Philadelphia. We do have some Giant fans listening here in Rochester. Honestly, and we are familiar with Tommy DeVito. Tommy DeVito couldn't be the full-time starter at Syracuse, and somehow he found his way onto a practice squad. Somehow he found his way onto it being active. Somehow he's going to start this week. This is blowing my mind. 17 points. It's not just a fantasy. Well, I guess the fantasy question is, do they the Saquon, if you're in a PPR league, is he just getting fed so much that it might be worth your while, even though it's going to stink out loud? Or just from a betting perspective, are you feeling comfortable enough laying 17 points in Dallas?
Oh, man. I would say yes, but here's what I will say. And this is the crazy part. It's kind of like playing the backward card here. I watched, and this is tough for me because I'm a Philly guy. It's tough for me to give the Dallas Cowboys any kind of credit. But I will say this, that they got up for that game last week, and that was a heavyweight battle. I don't care what anybody says. Dallas can say we got a couple bounces. Philly could say we got it. Doesn't matter. It was a great game. It's what you want to see, between two NFC East Titans. And Dak played his best game of the year. My idea is they put so much energy into that game, they may come out flat. I don't know. Sometimes the psyche acts a little strange, right? So maybe DeVito catch him off guard. I mean, I don't know. Listen, I know he threw a touchdown last week. He was 63% completion percentage. Maybe they throw a couple screens, they get a screen game going, they make a couple big plays, and next thing you know, they shut down and they win the game. Odder things have happened. That's all I can say. I mean, I remember the Giants throwing in, Jarrett Lorenzen one time. I thought, who just got it should be kind of sweeping the pins at the bowling alley, all of a sudden playing quarterback. So, Tommy DeVito, I think he may have a little skill left than Jarrett Lorenzen.
Tony, it's always great getting you on and love having you on a Friday here as we get set for the weekend and everything that's ahead. Tell us a little bit about Win Daily Sports, the work that you're doing, where we can get more of it.
Yeah, man, listen, we got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of promos going on. Check out Win Daily Sports. Get on that YouTube page. Like and subscribe. Sirius every Saturday from 6 to 8. And you can actually just started up a new show called The Fantasy Firebox. Give best half hour, sports betting, props, fantasy every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Win Daily Sports YouTube.
Tony, appreciate you. Enjoy your weekend there, and a weekend without Philadelphia Eagles football. So thanks so much for your time today, Tony.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
There he is, Tony Cotillo, Win Daily Sports, talking some fantasy football here as we get ready for the continuation of Week 10, which gets underway Sunday morning from Germany.
Can I go back to one thing he said there? And I didn't want to take a detour and challenge him because, what's the point? But I just think, so there's somebody outside the area, somebody who has a platform, somebody who called Steph Diggs a diva. I don't know why that issue, if you speak up, that doesn't make you a diva. George Pickens, what he did, you won the game. You didn't get your targets, and then you acted that way? That's divish. That's hey, we won, but no. I think that I just kind of need to point that out. Don't put Steph Diggs in that category.
I think that a lot of people would put Steph Diggs in that category because it's easy. Based on his history, based on what you thought you knew of Steph Diggs from his time in Minnesota, the idea that he kind of forced his way out of there, which none of it really is accurate, right? There were some disagreements, but the level of mistrust between Steph Diggs and the Vikings coaching staff meant that he needed to go somewhere else. And I don't get the sense that that's what they have here, even with all of the offseason. And there was drama, but it wasn't drama that to me was started by Steph Diggs. The drama and the headlines all came because Sean McDermott mishandled himself in a press conference.
That's it.
Said the wrong thing.
He lied.
He said the wrong thing about his player. And his player, every chance we've gotten to hear Steph Diggs, show me where he's a diva. I'm waiting. I don't hear it. I don't see it. His teammates love him. If he's a diva for being the biggest competitor on that roster, then we need to change the definition of a diva. Because that's all I see. I just see a guy who's he's that kind of psycho competitor that I was talking about earlier with Zach Gelb.
Yeah, I think he is, if not just in Western New York, one of the most misunderstood athletes in sport today. You see it from the outside. And also part of this too, Danger, and I've told this story, as we're waiting to go in the Bills locker room following this crushing season-ending loss against the Bengals, and you see Diggs storming out of there, and he is furious. Normally, you don't see that emotion that close, and where he's so angry, he doesn't want to hear the speech from McDermott, and they have to pull him back in. That was something that, okay, a peek behind the curtain here. And that's where some of the national reporters might have saw them. Whoa, what are you at? You see little bits and if you don't see the whole picture and you see only a piece of it, then you can come to the wrong conclusion.
There are a lot of people, though, that will hear what Tony said and already have formed their own opinion. There are people that are listening right now that are disagreeing with every word coming out of your mouth, out of my mouth. They'll believe for the remainder of this season that Diggs is the problem. that part of the reason why the Bills' offense doesn't look right is because of Diggs. I know that you exist. I know that you're out there. I know that you hear what we're saying, and you can't help yourself. You're going to point the finger at Stephon Diggs and label him a diva and say it's because he wants the ball or he's weighing heavily on Josh's mind, and Josh can't make a clear decision because Diggs is in the back of his head. Feed me the ball. Feed me the ball. Knock it off. It's nonsense.
Yeah, one guy that comes out the trivia, Brian, I hadn't seen him in a while, and we started talking about the Bills and Diggs, and he brought up, even on it, he brought up no, that's not right. And we had the debate. Anything in our show, if you think that Diggs is a diva and you want to point to something, I'm willing to listen to the counter argument to there, but your counter argument is going to be based on circumstantial things. Oh, I heard this. I see this. I don't. You got to trust us on this one.
Yeah, we know. And we're certainly not as close to it as the beat reporters that are there in Buffalo. But even when you talk to them, there's plenty of Bills beat reporters that have no problem being vocal one way or the other. When have you heard any of those guys say, yes, Steph Diggs is the problem? It's his fault. You're not hearing it from the Tim Grahams of the world, right? Like the guys that are
Jerry Sullivan's on the beach.
No, but, right. No, but you know what I'm saying. And there's a lot of guys that are really close to this team. Joe Biscaglia would never say Steph Diggs is a problem. Everybody that recognizes it, sees it, recognizes it for what it is, he's a competitor.
Now, Steph Diggs and Josh Allen, was their relationship fractured? I listened to that discussion when Josh Allen was calling him the wide receiver and that's not that sounded a little off during one of those post games in Detroit last year. So to me, there's something there, but I think right now they're fine. And I don't think
they need each other.
What is ailing this Bills offense right now has nothing to do with the relationship between Josh Allen and Steph Diggs.
No, they're symbiotic. They need each other. Diggs isn't Diggs without Allen, and Allen is not Allen without Diggs. They need each other, and I don't think that there's anything there. And if there was, it's in the past, and they've moved on from it long ago.
Oh, sidebar: Steph Diggs showing up on the injury report today with a back issue. He was limited. Now it's not your normal Friday. They have an extra day, but
typical diva.
Stop it.
That's worth paying attention to. Final injury report comes out tomorrow.
Yeah.
I get the sense from that injury report that we won't see Micah Hyde or Christian Benford come Monday night.
No, if they're both not practicing today, Hyde with the neck. And as you said accurately, Danger, yesterday, you have only one neck.
Which neck did he injure? Is it his left neck or his right neck? I mean, I'm just curious because last year he hurt his neck. I want to make sure that it's not the same neck that he hurt last year. Oh, it is the same neck? That's not good.
No.
That's not good.
No. So, and then Benford. So, Benford's out. Okay, Rasul, that's what we brought you in for. Welcome. You're starting.
It's a long season, man. These players get dinged up and the bumps and bruises don't quite go away as quickly as you'd like them to. Happy hour on the way next in the sports bar. Lots to unpack from Zach Gelb. Lots to unpack from Tony Cotillo. And the bit of breaking news that we got during the show today, the joke from the Big Ten.
Oh, it's not a joke.
I think it's hilarious.
Punishment.
I think it's hilarious.
That's punishment.
It's a hilarious attempt at flexing their muscle there by the Big Ten. What they've handed down to Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh. We'll get to that and more next. And we have time for your calls. If you want to pull up a stool, get your sports weekend started off right here on the Sports Bar at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326. The Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for Rochester and streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
The Big Ten has suspended Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh for the final 3 games of the regular season. Harbaugh will be allowed to coach during the week, just not on game day. Micah Hyde and Christian Benford did not practice with the Buffalo Bills today. Stuff Diggs was limited with a back injury. Head coach Sean McDermott on playing on Monday night.
Yeah, that's huge. We're undefeated at home this season. That was one of our goals, is to defend our dirt here at home, and that's a big deal here, right? Playing in Western New York, playing on Monday night in this case, and it'll be good to be back in front of our fans here.
We'll have Bills Broncos on Monday. Hockey night tonight in the Flower City. The Amerks hosting Utica. It's the front end of the home and home. Coverage here tonight begins at 7 o'clock. Also tonight, RIT hosting Mercyhurst. The Buffalo Sabres tonight can be heard on 96.5 WCMF. The Sabres hosting Minnesota. Gene Battaglia in the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
It's Football Friday. Broncos country. Let's ride.
They're a really good football team.
This is a game the Bills should win, and they're very good in Orchard Park. They play their best football in Orchard Park this year, but there's an element to this team that you just don't know how they're going to show up each week.
Mike Danger.
How do you think it's going to go? Okay, go through the same exercise. Who has a better quarterback?
Buffalo.
The better defense?
Oh, Buffalo.
Better receivers?
Buffalo.
The Bills should win.
We should win this
on Monday.
Gene Battaglia.
This is one where we'll be maybe tricked into thinking the Bills are back here. I'm thinking this is going to be a comfortable win Monday night finally, but it's not going to be much. It's Denver. Whatever.
Bears held off the Panthers 16-13.
Touchdown! Touchdown Bears!
Why are you so pissy?
It's the biggest story in college football. That's why I keep bringing it up. Michigan, man.
College basketball, the NBA season.
The Amerks host Utica.
Go Sabres.
What are they up against tonight in Minnesota?
The Minnesota Wild.
Go Tigers. 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan Rochester.
I'm excited for a round of shots coming up here in a little bit in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia, and we're excited to have you along with us here for the ride. Appreciate you listening along at 95.7 FM, AM 950, and the Odyssey app, or if you're watching the stream at The Fan Rochester on YouTube and Twitch, don't forget to like and subscribe. Why I'm excited for shots is I know that we're going to have some sound from one of our favorites from north of the border, and we're going to ask the question why he's being so pissy. We'll find out what's ailing Leon Draisaitl. That's coming up in a round of shots later this hour. The big story of this afternoon, Gino, on a Friday afternoon, the Big Ten flexing what I consider to be their puny muscles in this instance.
Sure, we can kind of say, is this real punishment? Harbaugh can't be on the sideline during the game, but he's going to be allowed to do everything else, because you talk to any football person, if you play on Sunday, Monday through Saturday is where the win and loss happens. Okay, well, Jim Harbaugh is going to be allowed to prepare and put in and coach his guys up. He just can't be out there as the figurehead, and I think this is PR. That's all this is. Like, hey, we can't have Harbaugh on the sideline when this all happened. Also, I think it's curious that the timing of this, 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, this news dump, it's a news dump. It's also a preemptive strike, say.
Legal can't get involved.
Exactly. And the AP reported that Michigan was going to sue the Big Ten if there was going to be any punishment. Okay. How's that going to work in order to get Harbaugh on the sideline tomorrow for what is a noon kickoff in Happy Valley?
Yeah, it's likely not happening, right? So if you're Jim Harbaugh, are you obeying the letter of the law here? Are you following the rules that have been imposed by the Big Ten, or do you say screw it? I'm showing up anyways. We'll appeal and we'll win. It feels like this is far from over.
That's an interesting question. Like, hey, you're suspended. Oh, really?
Says who?
Yeah.
Says who?
Yeah, we're appealing. I'm out here.
Right. Says who? I mean, if you really want to make this all about legalities, we appeal. And how long does it take for them to get an appeal to the Big Ten that you have to listen to or that you have to take into account? This is what drives me crazy about these kind of things. Is really, I mean, we know he cheated, caught cheating, right?
Yeah,
violated rules, caught cheating. All right.
It's an NCAA issue.
Yes.
It's not a Big Ten. So why
Yes.
does the Big Ten? Oh, they were cheating. This is going to determine. Let the NCAA. This is the Big Ten saying we're bigger than the NCAA.
The NCAA is going to take their own sweet time. And by the time the NCAA gets involved, Harbaugh will be off to greener pastures in the NFL, and he won't face any discipline at all. This is somebody getting into the Big Ten, and really everybody outside of Michigan in the Big Ten saying, you have to do something. You got to do something. You have to do something.
This is Ohio State leading the charge.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. But I didn't want to go there.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, of course. But furthermore, every other school in the Big Ten is really good at, like, any chance they can take to take a jab at Michigan, they'll take it.
Penn State could just put an end to this story, because if they do the thing they haven't done here under this head coach and actually beat a quality opponent, like, okay, here you go. Oh, you're not on that top tier. So I figure Michigan's going to win. But can we allow ourselves to imagine, wow, Penn State won, and then maybe Ohio State wins on Thanksgiving weekend, and then we don't even have to have this discussion.
Chaos. You're rooting for chaos.
It's going to be Ohio State, and yeah, I chaos would be you have 5 undefeated teams. Well, actually, no, it won't be 5. Michigan will be out, and Washington will slide right in. Case closed.
Where does Penn State fit in all of that here? If they beat Michigan,
what is it? The Outback Bowl?
Oh, there's no chance.
No chance. No, sorry.
All right, so that's the big bit of breaking news from this afternoon. That Jim Harbaugh will be off of the sidelines for the final 3 regular season games for Michigan, but he is allowed to continue to coach for the team during the week. A wonderful compromise to kind of keep all the people, all the detractors satiated, but not really a harsh punishment for a guy who got caught cheating with his program. Okay. Good to know. The Buffalo Bills injury report is out. It's not the final injury report of the week. We have one more to go, but it's fairly clear to look at this injury report to think that you might be thinner than normal in the defensive secondary.
Yeah, the 2 players that did not practice today after not practicing yesterday, Micah Hyde, they listed as neck stinger. That doesn't sound good. And when you consider what happened last year, I don't know if we're seeing Hyde out there Monday night. Also, Christian Benford, that soft tissue injury, again, hamstring, did not practice. Limited today. Terrell Bernard's still going through the concussion protocol. Returning to practice fully today. So Leonard Floyd was sick yesterday. He was out there. He was fine. A.J. Klein and Balin Spector, I'm lumping him in together because they're both kind of the same type of guy, right? They're both limited. Today they were full. Jordan Poyer, I don't know when the shin injury happened, but he was out altogether Thursday. He practiced full today, so that's good. The one here that I don't know anything about is Stephon Diggs was limited today, a back injury.
All right, keep an eye on that for the final practice report, which will be released tomorrow after they have their final practice of the week, all leading up to Monday and Monday Night Football, and you'll be able to hear the action here on the Fan Rochester with pregame coverage starting at 4 o'clock. Gino and I will do the heavy lift, the 1-hour sports bar from 3 to 4 on Monday afternoon. Sean McDermott earlier today on our Odyssey Sports sister station, WGR, in Buffalo, talking about that players-only meeting on the offensive side of the ball.
Yes, I was aware. Latavius and I spoke earlier in the week. He's one of our leaders, and just being here 1 year, sometimes you don't get maybe the captain's patch voted on by your teammates because they don't really know you to that extent yet. But I would say he's a great leader, and his influence is needed and very much welcomed. Well, it's good. I mean, he's been in the league a long time, and when we spoke the other day, he brought up what I thought were very good talking points, and so that player-driven leadership is critical on good teams.
A couple of thoughts here, and I know you have a thought, and I have a thought as well. You share your thought on what Tim was telling you about his theory.
So look, we take your takes all the time. You can reach Danger Eye on X, or you can give us a call at 866-4FAN. And Tim from San Diego, one of our regulars, said, "Wait a second. You mean to tell me that it was Latavius Murray calling both of these team meetings?" He's of the belief, and I'm entertaining this, It was actually Steph Diggs or Josh Allen, but realizing that if word gets out that Steph Diggs calls a team meeting and Steph Diggs is upset, that's some self-awareness to say, look, we're going to talk, but somebody else here, and Murray puts up his hand like, okay, because when Murray went up in front of reporters yesterday, what did he say? Nothing. It's like his mouth was open and nothing was coming out because, well, he probably doesn't want to say what was going on in the meeting, or maybe, if Tim is right on this theory, he's lying. He wasn't the one who called it.
I heard something in that clip there from Sean McDermott that he appreciated the talking points of Latavius Murray, that they were good talking points. And that makes me think now, was Latavius Murray actually the mouthpiece for Sean McDermott in the players only meeting? Did they have a conversation, share some thoughts, and McDermott tell Murray, hey, these are the talking points that are good that we need to run the football more. We need, just
if people want to think that the players only meeting is you need to be accountable. You're not doing your job. And then everybody nods their head and they shake hands and yay team. Or guys, what are we going to do about this play calling? What are we going to do about this? And somebody has to go up to the head guy and say,
here's where we are.
Here's where we are as a team. Okay, you know what? Rather than have Steph Diggs or Josh Allen be that guy conflicting with the head coach, let's have Latavius be the guy.
We just realized while we were off the air, and I don't think that we're wrong in doing this. I mean, usually the week leading up to a Bills game, we'll have on a reporter or an insider from the opposing team. We didn't do that for Denver this week.
Did not. And part of the reason is I'm just trying to weigh it out. Are people really interested in the Broncos? I honestly tell me about Sean Payton or tell me about Russell Wilson
I'll say this. He's one of our guys. We love him. Chris Trapasso was on One Bills Live today. And, that's a guy that breaks down film. That's a guy that watches everything under the jeweler's eye. He had some thoughts on Russell Wilson heading into Monday night.
Russell Wilson only has 4 interceptions on the season, so it's not like you're going to pressure him into a 5-interception game. And just historically, his interception rate in his career is under 2%, which is extremely low. You're trying to get the sacks. You're trying to get him off his base to make a bad decision.
He will throw it away.
Yes, a lot.
He'll hang on to it, and he'll throw it away. Or he'll eat it.
Yeah.
And you'll sack him. He'll take a sack. He'll throw it away. Then maybe you can get him a tipped interception or something. Sure. He does not put the ball in harm's way.
Let's ride.
Wait.
Let's ride.
Broncos.
Let's ride.
Perfect.
Okay.
One more time. Broncos country. Let's ride.
Broncos country. Let's ride.
Perfect. Yeah.
Broncos country.
I think that's something that we don't talk enough about, that the Russell Wilson, as bad as he was last year, what was the thing that was going on? What was the viral thing that happened last year? Were they counting how many touchdowns he had versus how many bathrooms he had in his mansion?
Yeah, you had him boasting about doing high knees on the plane or whatever it is. He's always been somebody
Such a cornball.
He lacks self-awareness. I think that's a trait. And I hear what those guys are saying, and I'm also going to point out that last time Russell Wilson played in Buffalo,
they
with
broke
Seattle,
him.
Oh my gosh, did they ever? That was a 4-turnover game in the pandemic. AJ freaking Klein was the AFC Defensive Player of the Week that week.
Oh yeah, that's right. You remember that? That was when Pete Carroll basically said, "All right, Russ, you're no longer allowed to cook." And he basically neutered him after that game. And that was the end.
That was it.
They broke him. I mean, the rest of his time in Seattle was under Pete Carroll's rule, and Russell Wilson couldn't wait to get out of there.
Yeah, and then the first clue to that was the pandemic year, and then the Man of the Year, which, give him credit, Man of the Year. Here's the Super Bowl, and it's in Tampa, and Tom Brady is in the Super Bowl again, and there's Russell Wilson. Miserable. Just hey, you're getting this awesome award, and I remember thinking, whoa, something's off there.
Yeah.
Just angry.
Was that when he was talking to Goodell? He was sitting next to Goodell too, and you could tell he was chatting Goodell's ear off, and Goodell was almost like, leave me alone. What? And the guy, if anybody can resurrect Russell Wilson, I suppose it's probably Sean Payton, right? That's the guy you had to bring in for as bad as this team has looked at times this season, Peyton not holding back, not having a filter, saying some of the things that he's said, not just about last year in Denver, but also about Russell Wilson specifically.
What was it? We're not here to kiss babies. You're not running for office.
He needs to stop. He needs to stop worrying about Russell Inc.
That was it too. Yeah,
that's probably not what he wants to hear, but what he needs to hear. If you're Russell Wilson, it's got to come down to you just being a better football player. I still like the Bills on Monday night, Gino. I know that Denver has the bye and they're rested and they just beat Kansas City, but man, when you think about quarterback versus quarterback, skill position versus skill position, roster versus roster, the Bills just have too much talent. I know that they're banged up defensively, but I don't think Denver has enough offensive firepower. Look, you're going to have to figure out what to do about Javonte Williams. Javonte Williams could be a factor. You can slow him down, then I have a feeling even with a depleted secondary, you should be able to hold Russell Wilson and his targets in check.
I want to see the Bills throw it around. If we see like what we saw in that Thursday night first half against Tampa Bay, do that again, but then do not take your foot off the pedal in the second half. Now that you look back, like, no, that like you have it 4th down and plus territory, 4th and 2. You go for it with this offense, and Denver will get their points in this game. I'd see Denver and Tampa Bay being kind of the same team. Like Tampa Bay has, an okay passing game, and Denver has an okay passing game, and they both have defenses that stink. Yes, Denver's gotten a little better. They gave up 70 points. Like, if
I still can't believe that Vance Joseph is back as their defensive coordinator. That blows my mind. I know it's new ownership, so maybe that's the reason why. Also the paycheck, I'm sure.
If the Bills struggle, does Joe Buck on Monday night say that Vance Joseph is having the time of his life?
Please tell me.
I think right now Vance Joseph is actually having the time of his life.
Right now, on this field.
Making his head coaching debut.
It's the last we ever heard of sideline reporter Sergio Dip.
Beth, Coach, it's a pleasure to be with you guys here on the field from up close, just watching Coach Vance Joseph from here. You watch him now on the screen. This diversity in his background is helping him a lot tonight. Quarterback at Colorado, defensive back in the NFL, and here he is having the time of his life this night, making his head coaching debut.
Remember why we were all watching that game? That was Rex Ryan's debut in the booth after he was let go by the Bills.
With Beth Mowin.
With Beth. That's first down. Thank you, Sergio. Sergio Dip on the sideline.
That was one of those moments where you're not really paying attention, and then your ears kind of perk up. That sounds a little different. Then you look at your phone. Everybody had this same reaction. Like, what was that? Who was that?
Oh, that was Sergio Dip.
I think right now Vance Joseph is actually having the time of his life.
See, but Buck is a funny guy.
Oh, absolutely.
Buck is a funny guy. And the fact that we figured this out, Buck has called the game in Buffalo, won. But it was the Chiefs, and it was an afternoon makeup game in the COVID year, and there was no fans in the stands. So this will be the first time Joe Buck and Troy Aikman have gotten the full Buffalo experience coming up Monday.
What do Bills Mafia think of Troy Aikman?
Nothing.
Irrelevant?
No, it's irrelevant. It's Jimmy Johnson. That is Jimmy Johnson, the guy who smashed the Flutie flag. Jimmy Johnson, who was the perfect guy and everything else. No, Troy Aikman was.
Yeah.
No,
okay.
I don't think there's no ill will. No.
Yeah. Well, that'll be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that. And again, pregame coverage starts on the Fan here at 4 o'clock. Gino and I will be by for the pregame coverage. Our heavy lift begins at 3 o'clock. We'll do an hour before we get to pregame coverage on Monday afternoon. If you missed Tony Cotillo of Win Daily Sports or Zach Gelb from CBS Sports Radio, we've got those conversations up and available for you on demand wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you get your shows. Just search out the Sports Bar. Gelb brought up something funny. If we're going to combine all of our worlds here and all the main stories that we're talking about. Look, I think you, Gene, and I both believe that Sean McDermott, even if he misses the postseason, is going to be back next year.
Look, my words. He's as safe as a kitten. Okay, I think he's fine. Brandon Beane, he's built up a goodwill. You can't, in one breath, in January, after what happened, say that guy should be the coach of the year. And that was a take. And now, 11 months later, we're going to be talking about warm seat with Sean McDermott? I don't see it.
But we're close to it.
Right.
The national media might see it differently, and they have the right to talk about things however they want to talk about it, whether it's right or wrong. It's their point of view from their perspective, and if you're not as immersed in it as some of us are, you might think things differently. Now, Zach brought up a point, and this is a hard point to dispute. Can Sean McDermott only get you to a certain point? And have we already seen that high point for Sean McDermott?
Well, if in year to year to year to year, where you're in the AFC Championship game, 13 seconds, loss at home, and then who knows where, if that's 4 years in a row.
You're trending in the wrong direction.
Yeah, you can't. What coach would have a step down, 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 down? Well, there's a lot of circumstance, and you have to have a little bit of nuance in this. But from the outside, people would say, yeah, what happened here? And they would point to Tampa Bay and Tony Dungy, great coach, couldn't get him to the finish line. They would point to Marty Schottenheimer stalling out wherever he went. Is Sean McDermott going to just be the culture builder? But when it comes to can we get you over the finish line, he ain't the guy.
Yeah, Philadelphia's Andy Reid, same deal, right? And eventually it just wore thin. You kept him around, you kept winning games, but you didn't get to where you ultimately wanted to go, and you didn't win the Super Bowl until you brought in somebody else. Well, you brought in Doug Peterson, which is kind of weird because when you think of Andy Reid and Doug Peterson now, you're like, well, Andy Reid's a better coach. I mean, Doug Peterson came from the Andy Reid tree. It's does your message get through? When does your message become stale? Can you get these guys to do more than what you think they're capable of doing? And Andy Reid showed last year with all those rookies on defense and everything that he had going on and all the adversity and no Tyreek Hill that he could. He wins a Super Bowl. One of the greatest coaches of all time. So the question Gal brought up, or the suggestion that Gal brought up, because every NFL team could do this exercise and ask themselves, would we be better served if Jim Harbaugh was our head coach in 2024?
Never crossed my mind, because when we're talking about Harbaugh destinations, well, the Raiders are going to have an opening. Okay, then the Bears he played for, and maybe Washington, new owner, ready to spend money. Aha. And Gelb also brought up a side point, like, the idea that Washington may trade for Bill Belichick. I think that would be interesting, to say the least. But Harbaugh going to established team? Harbaugh with the Bills Mafia? Oh, it blows your mind.
If the Bills were to make that move, you've upgraded.
Have you?
On resume, yeah. On paper, you have, yeah.
Jim Harbaugh won games because he literally did this whole... what has Jim Harbaugh done in Michigan outside of the sign stealing?
No, I'm not talking about Michigan. I'm talking about his time with the Niners. And we all know it, and we all saw it, and we saw him turn around a team in the Niners that was a mess, an absolute disaster. He got something out of Colin Kaepernick that nobody else was able to get. He got him to all those NFC Championship games. He got him to a Super Bowl. Just the resume alone is an upgrade. And maybe that's what's missing from Sean McDermott. Again, he's not going anywhere, and we believe he's safe as a kitten, and I'm sure he is. But every NFL team could do the exercise knowing that Jim Harbaugh is going to be available next year.
Well, Minnesota passed on him for a reason. Other teams have passed because he probably wants the power that comes along with it,
or the money he's going to make. The money he's going to make in the NFL his second time around is obscene.
You think so?
Yes. Yes. Oh, there'll be teams bidding for him, falling over for him. Yes, absolutely.
I think we have to kind of just throw out the disclaimer. I have no idea what's going through the mind of Terry Pegula, but I would think that Terry Pegula likes the the outfit he's got to have.
Yes, and I don't think any of that is changing. But Zach brought it up, and
Zach brought it up
when he brought it up.
like,
when he
whoa.
brought it up, I'm like, whoa. This is why it's fun every now and then to get a national perspective, and I know a lot of us kind of like poo-poo the national perspective on the Bills specifically because we're so close to it and we have different perspectives in the national media. But not everything that the national guys say is that off base. I mean, for a lot of the people that were saying all offseason that the Bills' window is closing, there's some truth to that. You can't dismiss it entirely.
Chris in Farmington writing in. Here's my fear with the notion that McDermott can only take the Bills so far. It's the same thing that was said about Andy Reid. It was the same thing that was said about Tony Dungy. Both eventually got theirs. I would want McDermott to be here when he gets his. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, and Von Miller of all people brought this point up, like pointing out, hey, when we won the Super Bowl in LA, this was the same exact pattern with the Rams, and I remember this. November, they were dead in the water, and it was a bad division, and they were the 4th seed. And as the 4th seed, you play on the opening round on Monday Night Football, and they played Kyler Murray, and they wailed on him. So, and then all of a sudden, bam, the switch happened.
That's the thing that's funny, though. I think we all expect that there's this magical switch that all of a sudden makes the Bills a Super Bowl contender again. And I don't think I think that's magic. I think that's a wish. I don't think that that's accurate or real. I think you have to see it, and I think you have to have the talent and able to do it. The Rams had that talent. I don't know what the Bills do, especially with the injuries that they're dealing with right now.
I think the Rams also, can we point this out, had a pretty darn easy path. They did. Like, they beat the Buccaneers that year, yay. And they beat Aaron Rodgers, who always loses in the postseason. So, yeah, the Rams it was the Niners. Forgive me. Whoever it wasn't a contender.
Yeah, well, the idea that the Bills are going to flip a switch and all of a sudden things are going to look better, like, no, I don't. I'm going to close my eyes and really wish for $1 million when I get home. It's like, guys, come on. You see what we see. You know that this is a depleted defense because of the injuries. You know that the offense, our eyes are telling us that the offense is off a beat, that there's just something a little off with what's going on. So I don't know what this magical switch is that the Bills can all of it. Like, what is a get right game? What does that look like anymore?
Should be Monday night.
You would think, but I'm not calling it a get right game.
I am. 866-4326. As Chris joining us. Hey, Chris, what's going on, bud?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Doing well.
Hey, I really like Zach Gelb's take on that. That's a good spicy take there about Jim Harbaugh coming to Buffalo to replace McDermott. But do you almost wonder if the Bills are just too old right now? Like, we almost have to tear it down on the defense because they're so beat up. They're so old. Poyer, Hyde, Vaughn. They're at their end. They're at their prime. They're past their prime. And now we almost have to rebuild that defense. And then, do you think we missed an opportunity with Hopkins and trading for him, or even signing him? Even though I know Tennessee paid him royally for what the Bills couldn't match, but I just want to hear you guys' take on all that.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any receiver. I think it's more a philosophy issue, what's going on in Buffalo, rather than a personnel issue. I think, Chris, and I appreciate the call, I think that the personnel is here. Can they get their head out of their butt? Offensively. Defensively, Chris, I think you're spot on.
No, we were worried about that going into the season.
And we thought, well, you got all these backups, you'll be and they're not fine.
Yeah.
No. And then we thought, wow, my gosh, how are you going to get Taylor? Okay, now we see a reason why the Rams let Taylor Rapp kind of walk, because
he's inconsistent.
Right.
You're old in the back end, and Von Miller is a shell of the Von Miller that we saw even last year. You might look to the future and be like, well, maybe you do have to pay. Maybe if you're going to pay A.J. Epineza, it should be the Bills paying A.J. Epineza. Keep him here because you need him. You need Greg Rousseau.
Where's AJ been this last month? That's Rousseau, like that whole defensive line. And you could say, well, it's part and parcel because everything else isn't working the way it should. That, hey, if guys are wide open 10 yards downfield,
you know who's going to make a lot of money? Who deserves to make a lot of money just from his absence? Daquan Jones.
Yeah.
Why haven't you extended him? That needs to happen. Yeah, the age is a concern. The good news is you got a couple of guys that have developed nicely in Bernard, certainly in Benford. You didn't really know what you had there. And maybe Kyer Elam becomes something. maybe this is like, it's not a red shirt, but it's almost like this season is lost and next season is another opportunity for Kyer Elam to show that he belongs on this defense. There's some youth, but you need some of these guys to hit. We didn't really think much of AJ Epineza until we saw him earlier this season do what he's been doing. Mm-hmm. If that continues, if that can be a consistent theme through the rest of the year and he can make some plays when you need him to, then I would be like, yeah, keep Epineza and don't worry about Von Miller. Just keep Epineza and Rousseau. You've got Ed Oliver locked up. Lock up Daquan Jones. You've got a defense. Appreciate the call, Chris. Let's get to shots. I'm excited. They know we're going to talk about one of our favorites.
It was one of those like after hours things. I'm like, oh my gosh, one of our favorites. And this team is down and out. We'll have, this is a good follow up to one of our favorite pieces, our favorite sound bites here in the sports bar. Busy night, not just in hockey. Big night here in Section 5 football. Big Saturday coming up in college football, and a big vote coming up in baseball as well.
All right, a round of shots on the way. Last call coming up too, and you can join us at 866-4326. 585-866-4FAN here, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Rochester Sports Update.
The Big Ten has suspended Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh for the final 3 games of the regular season. Harbaugh will be allowed to coach during the week, just not on game day. It's hockey night tonight in the Flower City. The Rochester Americans hosting Utica, the front end of the home and home. Head coach Seth Appert on his banged-up team.
I've become a better coach when I stop worrying about things I can't control. These are just game injuries, and it's a physical sport. It happens. This is why you have the depth that you have in the organization, and I fully expect us to play a strong game and give ourselves a chance to win, regardless of who's in the lineup or who's not.
Don Stevens will have the call at 7. Also tonight, the 20th ranked RIT Tigers are home taking on Mercyhurst. Sabres hockey tonight on WCMF. The Sabres hosting Minnesota. Micah High, Christian Benford not practicing today. Gene Battaglia in the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Rochester's home for live sports and the best sports talk anywhere. The Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Lots of reasons for why the Oilers are playing the way they are in terms of winning and losing. What do you think is the number one reason for the losses now? Is there one thing that you, in your own mind, you're saying we got to get better at that?
Yeah, we have to get better at everything.
Would you like to expand on that?
Nope. You can do that. You know everything.
Why are you so pissy, Leon? Why are you so pissy?
I'm not. I'm just answering your
question. Yeah, you are. Whenever I ask you a question.
I gave you an answer.
Not very good one.
Okay.
Well, I have one more for you. Leon, you show your frustration on the ice last game against Ottawa. Is that a good thing when you show it so the other team knows you're frustrated?
Yeah, it's a great thing, for sure.
Good.
Yeah. What's great about that is it's like a South Park bit come to life in real, like,
from Canada. Yeah. Why are you so?
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are, buddy.
Whenever I ask you a question,
why are you so pissy? It's one of our favorites, Leon Draisaitl.
Leon, it's a gotcha question. Like, he understands, like, hey, it's the power play. The story becomes the power play, or hey, it's the back. He's like, I'm not going to answer the question.
Why are you so pissy?
Well, let's check in on the Edmonton Oilers. Oh my gosh, they lost to San Jose last night. They are tied with San Jose for the worst record in the league. And actually, you could say Edmonton is the worst since they lost to San Jose. Both teams now with just 5 points on the season, tied for last. Everything is bad in Edmonton. The Oilers with the worst save percentage in the league. They scored the second fewest goals at 2.58, and they're just a mess right now. And for some reason, the Oilers' social media feed put up the Leon Draisaitl post-game comments last night.
Is that just it, where it's like it doesn't feel like anyone's going right now? Have you ever experienced something like this, where some guys slump obviously, but it just feels like no one's going right now?
Yep, great observation.
He is just the most cantankerous hockey player in the world.
I love him.
Yes, it's a great observation. Nobody's going anywhere.
Okay, can I play this out? What if the season goes really bad?
Oh,
and people are.
I know where you're going. Connor McDavid's going to want out of Edmonton.
Happened before. Like it happened with the great one. Now, granted, there was a girl involved.
Who's giving up what for Connor McDavid?
Who has lots of young talent that's just bursting at the seams?
What would you give up if you're the Buffalo Sabres to get Connor McDavid?
What do you want? Levi, Kulik, Peterka, somebody else? Like that. This is what it's going to take. It's
in a first rounder.
Yeah. Or a couple first rounders. Like you go back to the Gretzky trade. It was like there was a lot, but it was well worth it for the Kings, was it not? And Edmonton won a cup after Gretzky left, and it worked out for them too. Just saying.
Yeah.
Tonight in the NHL, there is the Sabre game. There are 5 other games in the league. San Jose's in action. They look to make it 3 in a row. They're out in Vegas.
By the way, I'm just going to point this out. You know I love value when I'm betting the NHL. I couldn't believe this when I saw it. You can get the Sharks at plus 410 on the money line right now at FanDuel. If you want just to say like, hey, the Sharks, I know they're bad. They're a bad team. I know the Knights are good. but you never see
plus 410.
You never see that for a money line game.
Yeah, and it's the back-to-back. I don't know. I still wouldn't do it, Danger. Now I'm invested, damn it.
No, you're not. I am.
No, now I'm going to be paying attention to see if I was right, because no one cares when I'm right. Toronto hosts Calgary. Also, Pittsburgh today announced they're going to retire Jaromir Jagr's number 66. Good luck to all the Section 5 teams this weekend, going for a championship tonight at 7 o'clock in Class A. The top seed East taking on Brighton. This game at Fairport. Class AA tomorrow, 1 o'clock. Big one between UPrep and McQuaid. That game at Victor. SUNY Brockport, the site of the Class B final tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Monroe taking on HFL. Sports Bar wishing all the players, coaches, and their families good luck this week.
By the way, weather could be a lot worse for these games this weekend.
Yeah, this is as nice as you could hope for. I've been out there before when it's been snowing.
Oh, want no part of it. This is great. And yes, best of luck. We were fortunate enough to get to know some of the student athletes and some of these teams and their coaches. And it's going to be a lot of fun this weekend. Best of luck to all the teams involved.
Beaver Stadium is going to be the place tomorrow. We talked a lot in the show today about this finger quote suspension for Jim Harbaugh. Right now, as it stands, Harbaugh will not be on the sideline when number 10 Penn State hosts Michigan. That's going to be on Fox at noon. Other games you can check out on your college football Saturday include number 8 Alabama, Kentucky, noon on ESPN. The late afternoon TV window has a couple teams looking to hold their position in the rankings. Number 4 Florida State hosting the U. That would be Miami, 3:30 on ABC. At that same time on Fox, it's number 5 Washington hosting number 18 Utah. And at 7 o'clock on ESPN, number 2 Georgia hosting number 9 Ole Miss. Also in prime time on NBC, you can check out Ohio State. They're ranked first. They're home against Michigan State. And enjoy these last few weeks of what we call Pac-12 After Dark. USC going to number 6 Oregon. That's 10:30 on Fox.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's a good Saturday slate of college action. Looking forward to it.
Now, coming up next week, it's the Major League Baseball owners meetings. Usually this isn't newsworthy, but this year it will be. It's expected they're going to vote on the A's moving from Oakland to Las Vegas. Now, details of the move, to say the least, remain a little sketchy. For instance, there isn't an official stadium plan at this point. The initial artist renderings, those renderings can't happen on that small of a footprint. Additionally, the A's, where they're going to play in the interim. The Oakland Mariners sent out a package to 15 Major League Baseball owners detailing the plan that they have to keep the A's in Oakland, which honestly is nothing more than a Hail Mary at this point, in my opinion.
None of this makes sense. And that's why I think it'll probably end up being where the A's are in Vegas.
Yeah, and that's perfect because after all these years, let's rush this and let it fail. Finally, like any good boyfriend, sounds like Travis Kelce is now reciprocating after Taylor Swift attended a bunch of Chiefs games. Kelce traveling on the bye week, apparently, to Argentina. That's where the Eras tour is this weekend. To steal a line from Danger in regards to Aaron Rodgers when he was in Green Bay. Travis, go enjoy your life. Be with your girl. Yeah. You've won rings. Yeah. It's sunny. It's enjoyable. You don't need to come back. You made the money.
Yeah, that's what I used to say when I was under the grip of Aaron Rodgers as a Bears fan, and Aaron Rodgers absolutely owned Chicago, right? And now you've got Travis Kelce and the Chiefs. Yeah, you know what? Good. You're on your bye week, and you're in South America, and you're with your squeeze, and she's on tour, and you're in Argentina. Yeah, take as much time as you want. Explore, have fun. Yeah, and come back and let's see how life looks for Travis Kelce.
Apparently he will be back Monday in Kansas City. I would think he's not flying commercial, right? You've got the money. She's got more money than she knows what to do with.
Yeah, they're fine. They're doing fine. By the way, Jason Kelce, I know you didn't watch any of yesterday's game between the Bears and Panthers. Jason Kelce has a future in broadcasting. Jason Kelce, Travis's brother, center for the Philadelphia Eagles, did a nice job. He was up there in the booth and chopping it up with Al and with Kirk, and I get the sense that he's going to end up on a desk or in a booth somewhere soon once he retires.
Yeah, and that's a nice little audition there with the Eagles being off this week. You have the extra time, kind of go out there and yeah, it's funny how the both brothers had the same bye week.
And I also love that the guy that gave us this could be the guy that we see on Sundays now is part of the media.
Everybody wonders why we're so mean. Everybody wonders why the Philadelphia Eagles aren't the nicest fans. If I don't eat breakfast, I'm
I don't eat breakfast, I'm pissed off.
Yeah, why did we beep that?
I don't know. Ask the Dandalorian. He is the bounty hunter of the finest sound in all the galaxy. All right, we've got to come back next with Last Call. We're going to close up shop, get you set up for your weekend. Plenty of action tonight, including the Amerks at home taking on Utica, and the Sabres hosting the Wild tonight at KeyBank. We'll get to all of that and take your calls. The most dangerous words in all of sports talk radio. We go to the phones at 866-4326, 585-866-4FAN. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia at 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
The beer is cold and the wings are hot. You're in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Is that just it, where it's like it doesn't feel like anyone's going right now? Have you ever experienced something like this, where some guys slump obviously, but it just feels like no one's going right now?
Yep, great observation.
Oilers forward Leon Draisaitl. Never change, man. Never change. We've got plenty of hockey action tonight in the Flower City. It's the Amerks hosting Utica, Blue Cross Arena. We'll have the game for you here on The Fan with Puck Drop and Don Stevens on the call just after 7 o'clock. The Sabres tonight hosting the Minnesota Wild. You can hear that on CMF tonight at 7 o'clock. We've got RIT hockey tonight. Gino's already got his jacket on. He's ready to go.
I've got my jacket on. Like, when the Time Warner Sports channel went out of business, basically, we've been looking for a permanent home locally for RIT hockey. But tonight we're on the air in Pittsburgh. Danger, no Penguins hockey, so they picked our game up tonight.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, so and we're going to be on when they play New Hampshire on Nesson. So we can't see it locally, but from the school standpoint, if you can get out to different markets and say, hey, look at this.
Well, you guys do a great job. It's quality production. I mean, Mark and you and everybody except for your color guy, everybody does a really, really good job. My
back's hurting from carrying him. Also.
You really. I mean, you should get more, at least double what he gets for all the work that you do.
He's probably one step ahead of me, don't talk that about me.
All right, so Gino's got RIT this weekend. Good luck to the Tigers. Good luck to the Amerks. Good luck to the Sabres tonight. And, of course, we're back Monday afternoon starting at 3 o'clock. So we'll have the heavy lift on Monday, the 1 hour show, as we walk you up to pregame for the Bills and the Broncos on Monday Night Football. 4 o'clock, our pregame coverage on Monday gets underway. And Gino and I will be by with the pregame on Monday afternoon. Hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves, and we will talk to you again Monday afternoon. CBS Sports Radio on the way next here on The Fan Rochester.
It's that time again.